This week's guest is presented to you by Bertarelli Cutlery. Marco Bertarelli at Bertarelli Cutlery has been in the knife sharpening business for decades. It's a family-owned business straight from the mother country of Italy. Marco is a dear friend, and they've been a partner with Illinois Recovery Center and offering second chance jobs for folks that are leaving treatment and looking for work. Please check them out at bertarellico.com. That's BERTARELLICO.com. And you can always find them and their retail store at 1927 Marconi Avenue on the Hill in St. Louis, Missouri. bertarellicutlery.com.
I'll react if I had to. Put some things in the past too, and don't let them distract you, but react if you have to. I'll react if I had to. Put some things in the past too, and don't let them distract you, but react if you have to. React if you have to, Don't know the time, just know that I'm, one of a kind,
Are we on TV yet?
We're hard to find, beautiful mind,
Like that TV? Like these cameras on? Yeah, baby. So these people can hear me?
I can't hear you over the music, but
It's fucking
I'll
loud.
just turn it down in post.
Are you going to be able to turn it down?
Oh, yeah.
All right. This is fucking baller.
Yeah.
Pond Offs Anonymous, episode 4?
Season 2, episode 4.
Season 2, episode 4.
Welcome to the Freak Show.
It's a imperfect production. We have a little pivot I think we're going to do for episode 4. But first, I want to crowdsource the interior decorating minds of Jacob and Jeff and anybody that listens to this.
Yeah.
We got to paint that fucking brown door back there. That's too. Let me see. Look at the camera. What do you think about my collared shirt? A little preppy?
I like that. It's too bad.
I think I look like a douchebag. I guess I didn't realize it was so douchey. Next fucking episode, I'm just gonna be in my wife beater.
Yeah. That sounds good. With some meatball stains.
You got it. Yeah, we gotta get these doors painted. What do you think?
He's covered. Something good.
Put something up there because I didn't realize how ugly that brown is.
I'm a fan of the brown.
Figures and tracks. I like how we got the IRC banner back here over my shoulder.
Yeah.
Jeff's not wearing his Pond Offs Anonymous hat today, so that'll be a $5 fine.
I forgot it.
Jacob's got a Easter pastel on.
Like it?
Look good. Professional.
It's new. Got this weekend.
Look, really?
Very soft.
Fucking yard sale.
Is this Target?
Oh, that's Target. Yeah. I do my shopping.
Well, do you know?
I used to do all my shopping at Jacques Poney. JCPenney. That was a Tom Pondoff original.
Nice.
Studio's coming along.
Yep.
Jacob says I'm negative.
Very.
I love, this is a behind me, I guess, no, it's not behind me. What is it? I guess
To your side.
There's a tablecloth on the wall that has a Pond Offs Anonymous logo, and we got that back in 2020. We were going to do with Megan Weir. She was a guest.
Yep.
Great story. Still fucking killing it, leading AA groups all across the Midwest.
One of the biggest, most watched YouTube video we have is hers.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Really cool story. She was, I think, part of the Young Adults for AA group.
Yeah.
And they were having a huge, the state of Illinois, they were having their big annual deal at Fairview Heights. So a lot of times, it's up by Chicago. Fuck Chicago. But it was up, it's up Chicago. They spread, I think it travels. So it was going to be in Fairview Heights March of 2020. So I ordered the tablecloth. We were going to have a table, talk recovery, talk podcasting, hand out the cocktail napkins that we got instead of business cards. We got, remember those?
Mm-hmm.
And so I got this tablecloth, and I think it's the first time we've used it is like last week when,
Yeah.
because COVID shut that thing down.
Right. Now you can't really see it on a camera.
Now it's still not. People are still like, "What? Who gives a?"
What the fuck are you talking about?
I just like So if there's any interior decorators out there, that want to lend us a hand,
Do a mock-up for us.
we're all ears.
How about them Chiefs, Jacob? That's depressing.
They got their fucking teeth kicked in.
Yeah.
It was so great.
I'm not a Chiefs fan, but I'm not a Chiefs fan, so I was kind of feeling it for my buddies.
If we have some old pastor friends that are fucking acting like they're Chiefs fans just to appease their
congregation. Yeah.
Matt Fulmer, Evie.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Did I say their name?
He said their names out loud.
But, in their defense, it's the kids now. They all go to schools, and that's happening in St. Louis, where it's the kids that are wanted to be Chiefs fans because of Mahomes and Tay-Tay.
Yeah.
I love Tay-Tay. Tay-Tay got booed last night.
Did she really?
It was a pro-Eagles crowd, I think.
Oh, okay. That's too bad.
Yeah, none of my squares hit.
I ain't won.
I saw that. I got that email.
That's nice. It's the first square I ever won.
Oh, really?
I had chicken 5 times.
Yeah, we had it was good. You always want a better game, but I had the over 48.5, and it wasn't looking good. And then there was a time, I think, in the third quarter, I looked at my buddy and I said, fuck, the Eagles might cover the over on their own. It was like 34 to nothing at that point. And it hit. It hit comfortably. It was they scored. I think Kansas City scored and then got another garbage touchdown.
Yeah.
But
22 at the end of the game, right?
is he close enough to the mic?
Yeah, get a little closer.
Get this in my mouth
Yeah, pretend it's a big cock. Sorry.
as I'm cupping it too.
That's funny. So we had a guest scheduled for tonight, and shit's fucking going around.
Yeah.
St. Louis has been fucking gaped by influenza A, B, and COVID. So the last couple months. And some people I know have got that noro shit, the stomach.
Yeah.
And I don't wish that on my worst liberal enemy.
I think I've had it before, actually, and it sucked.
The last time I got real fucking stomach sick, I was on a business trip with my old man. It was a fucking Caesar salad those anchovies were fucking rotten. We were driving up Champaign that afternoon, and we were staying overnight, and we were going to stop at our steakhouse that we liked up there, Alexander Steakhouse.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, it's gone. And
It's the best.
no, we didn't cook our own fucking steak. We sit at the bar that you can cook the steak for. And they do a pretty good job. Medium rare Santa Maria seasoning. And I wasn't feeling good about an hour outside of Champaign. No big deal. Get there. Still feeling a little nauseous. We order our steaks, grab our salads from the salad bar. Great salad bar. Not like a fucking Ponderosa. Like it was a good salad.
Yeah.
I like Ponderosa.
Sorry. But yeah, all right. To each, some people like something. Shout out TMA. As we were away, we get our first drink, sipping on a cocktail, and I'm like, man, this isn't going away. Usually like a whiskey and a club soda back in the day was what made me feel better, probably because I was entering withdrawal.
Right.
About 4:00, I hadn't had a drink yet. I was probably, so I thought that was it. I went in the bathroom and I'm like, it's not shaking this. I come back out and our steaks come out. And I look at my old man, I go, I got to go to the fucking car. I'm going to puke. I think I'm going to puke if I don't lay down in the car. And he's like, take his first bite, and he's like chomping on it. And he just gives me that look like, I'll see you out there when I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not going to interrupt your fucking ribeye. I knew better. I wasn't asking you to stop eating.
Yeah.
Just going to go out to the car. I went out the car and I fucking puked in the parking lot. And I text him. I'm like, yeah, I just threw up. This is bad. And he's like, all right, I'll be out in a couple minutes. He must have got another round because about 30 minutes later, he finally comes out and he's got my steak wrapped up. He's like, just in case you want it. I'm like, I don't fucking want to see it. I smell it. So he goes, I'll put it in the bag. He puts it in the bag. We go back and to the hotel room. We were splitting, saved money, and I'm puking all night. Both ends, puking all night. And, you know, it was one of those where you really are grateful that the bathtub's next to the shitter. Because it's just one of those nights. Well, after, like, between around 7 and 8, like, walking back to the bed and just a dead man walking. Worst fucking night of my life. I start sniffing, and that motherfucker's in the corner gnawing on my ribeye. The fuck are you doing? He goes, I didn't think you'd notice. Notice, I fucking smelled. He said they're eating his second ribeye of the night. As I'm just, I mean, completely blowing chunks all night long. It was awful. So I don't wish that shit on my worst enemy. But yeah, I bring that up because our guest is down with it and not going to be able to make it tonight. So do a little freestyle and going to put Jacob on the spot.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I've been doing this podcast with Jacob for 3 episodes now, and I don't know his story.
There you go.
So I'm excited to hear it.
And you guys really just met at this juncture.
Yep.
Yeah. You didn't really know Jacob until we fired the band back up.
That's right.
And I tell you, it's been pretty, like,
third blues brother.
Yeah. Chemistry's been great.
Yeah.
And thank God, you know, you two are the technical resources because
you record it on your phone.
Right.
I just mess stuff up and Jeff fix it.
Jeff is definitely the brains behind the operation here. But yeah, you know, I know some of Jacob's story just in spurts. I think I met you when you first started painting walls here and getting this place ready a couple months before opening day. And I had heard of you. Our mutual brother, Easy Eric, just spoke the world of you. And when he was telling me about IRC, he was like, Chris, they're coming with me. I got the team. And I was like, that's all you got to say, Eric. But you know, he got into each person and it was, no offense, Jacob, first Sarah, because she was executive chef. And then it was Jacob. He's coming and, you know, he's super, I mean, just wise, a brother, and has been through it. And, yeah, I think we've become pretty close friends since then. Your pleasure.
Right. Sure.
There's that fish song, You Enjoy Myself.
Speaking of fish, there is a gal that wants to come back on that we had a original.
Teresa?
Yeah.
Awesome.
She's probably at a show right now jamming out.
She probably is, yeah.
She's got a cool story. We're going to have her on. That cool story is probably not the way to describe it.
Yeah, but
Cool.
powerful.
On how she's lived her life since her sister's passed away. So
Yeah.
we'll bring her on. But yeah, with a illness and a scheduling, you know, we all have jobs, and this is obviously not paying the bills. So when somebody gets sick and can't make it, we pivot. We're pretty raw, and I think we're gonna talk to Jacob here a little bit, let him introduce himself, and
I'll definitely do my best.
And if he could get a little closer to the mic for the second time.
This chair likes to roll, man.
It's a nice chair. Where'd you get
I
that?
think it's the one that you brought. But...
Oh. Is that the one Kevin almost fell out of? No, but Jacob, you got 8 years?
Yeah, 8 years. So November 8th, 2016. That's my clean date.
And that's close. Eric's like 2. Oh,
Eric has 2 weeks longer.
yeah. Does he fucking throw that in your...
2 weeks of my life.
Oh, my God. Every day. Remind...
I had 7 years, you'll say, or some shit.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's funny. But he grew up in bumfuck Missouri, right? Like Nathaniel.
Yeah, so Nathaniel's story, everybody listen to that one. Go back and listen. But we grew up 8 miles apart.
Oh, wow.
So like next town over, I had no idea who the fuck he was. But
That's odd. It's not like it's a huge town. You guys are both fucking hitting it hard, and
yeah, our stories are kind of similar on like the evolution of like it's just small town
sure.
heroin addicts.
Right.
Never can it really be, but it's just funny because like he talked about this a little bit. Like I didn't meet Nathaniel till I was clean and he was clean.
It's probably a good thing.
Oh,
I think
Yeah.
Yeah,
you two would be fucking dead if you knew each other. Or
maybe.
I saw you guys in Vegas sober. That was wild.
Has anyone checked on Nathaniel after the
Oh, that's a good point.
Chiefs lost?
Speaking of, he was in Vegas for the Super
But yeah, so
Yeah,
we might need to do a wellness check.
yeah. Somebody call him.
He did post something on Facebook about the refs costing the Chiefs the game just to, yeah.
I said it was Sean Hannity dressed in a Chiefs jersey is what it cost.
Oh, your boy.
Yeah, my boy.
I still haven't gone back. We're recording this on Monday, the
10th? Is it the 10th?
yeah, that.
So I haven't even gone back and looked at we had 15 people over, so we couldn't hear the commercials.
Yeah.
Were there any good ones?
The Jeep commercial was good with Harrison Ford.
Oh yeah,
That was a good one.
Okay.
But I didn't see many of them either.
There was
it's like the cold phone one or whatever, Chris. It's right up your alley.
the cold phone.
You see that one, Joe?
Cold foam? No.
Like with the fucking tongues, fancy.
What's that got?
It's weird. It's just a weird.
What, you saying I like to tongue people?
Weird guy to like weird things.
Not weird.
About weird.
I'm not weird.
But weird.
Boston salad's like Christmas. It's better to give than no, it's not. It's better to receive than to give. Shit. So yeah, we probably should do a wellness check on Nathaniel. There was a commercials there were guys walking around with fucking like skin cowboy hats. That freaked me out. That was weird shit.
I didn't see that.
And they had a couple of them.
Oh, it was for Tubi.
How'd the Clydesdales do?
Good. That's a cute little baby Clydesdale.
Yeah,
It was good.
that's
I didn't
it.
see it.
I guess we should be talking about
I was gonna say, yeah.
What you do, Joe? Just watch.
He just cared about Kenrick.
I was doing a lot of dealing with my 4-year-old while my wife sat on the damn couch and watched the game.
She doesn't listen to this.
No, she doesn't.
You can chirp her.
Yeah.
You should love.
She's like, hey, can you make some half-calf coffee? So I did that.
Is Louis into it yet or not?
No, he doesn't care.
Does he play an instrument? Oh, you're a big musician.
No, he pretends to play guitar,
Okay.
but I think he wants to start lessons, I think, with me, but I don't know if I have the patience for that. We'll see.
I told the people at church on Sunday that a lot of the musicians, I said, if any of you inspire Charlie to want to bring a fucking trumpet or something home to my house, I'll kill you. I can't deal with it. No fucking way. Can
Yeah.
I have a practicing
Oh, the
7-year-old.
the worst instrument to hear someone practice is a violin.
Really?
Oh, it's terrible sounding.
My daughter just had her first cello concert.
Yeah?
Oh, really?
How'd that go?
It was pretty good.
So she makes sounds that actually like come together.
Yeah, she's played piano since she
Oh,
was way little.
okay. How old's your daughter?
She's 9.
9.
She's already more talented than you.
Oh, very much so. It's so much more talented.
So that's interesting, Jacob. So, and I think it's important. It's really, and it's powerful. I've seen a lot of people that, and we hear it a lot. We see a lot of parents try to get clean, and just doing the math, you're 8 years clean and your daughter's 9.
Right, yeah. So she was definitely my first like grow up mindset was when my girlfriend at the time got pregnant with her. So it's definitely like when I first started the journey of trying to get clean. It took a year and 9 months to finally get there, but
It's interesting.
definitely a big, huge motivation.
I want to set that aside because I think it's important to get to on. It took you a year and 9 months. That's important. There's just I've seen it more being on this side, recognized it more, but there's a I think we talked about a little bit with Kevin, our director of family programming, that people think you come here for 30 days and it's like going through a car wash. You get cleaned up and you're good to go and back out on the road, and it's not that fucking linear. So let's get there. But I want to let's start at the beginning. You grew up in
So I grew up in Union, Missouri.
Union.
Anybody knows this? It's nice.
not Sullivan. For some reason, I always say Sullivan.
I still live in Union to today. So
How far a drive is that?
Fucking what's your
hour and 10, 15
Oh,
minutes.
God.
each day he drives here.
It's construction now, so about an hour 30.
Jeez. Yeah.
That's why I don't mind a long drive is like where I can do a podcast, my audiobook. That's my
Right.
me time. you
Yeah.
know? So I've been driving a long way to work since I've gotten to this field, really. So
Yeah.
it doesn't bother me too much.
You listen to Cam's podcast?
I do, yeah.
Our buddy.
I haven't listened to audiobooks lately, actually. So.
Look at you, getting smart. Cam's coming out. When's
He complimented me. Got to switch.
you struggle with reading, so you got to listen.
Audiobook, yeah.
There you go. That's perfect. Cam's coming out. Cam and Strick podcast. We partner with them. I'm a Jacob's a big hockey guy. Jacob's mom's biggest hockey fan I think I've met. We've talked about that a little bit, but yeah, he's coming out Wednesday. He likes to come out and talk to clients.
Golf for snow on Wednesday now too.
So he played hockey in Canada.
We're gonna get him on the podcast.
Yeah, he's pissed that we haven't asked him to be on yet.
All right.
So we'll get him on. Instant offense. He'll bring it. But I remember we first met. You were saying you listen. You're a big listener of the Camp.
Yeah.
They have a really cool. They've had a lot of NHLers, former NHLers that are us that have been through this shit. And then you mix addiction with I wouldn't say bottomless pockets, but financial means. It could be a problem. So I do want to get you moved closer. You do. I know you like your drive, but move to Webster, be my neighbor.
He's trying to take away my me time. Can't support Webster.
Oh, sorry.
We had one day pod off, but
I got lucky. Yeah, but so Union, Missouri. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so grew up in Union. I have 2 older brothers with my mom. So I was raised by a single mom for a chunk of my childhood. She remarried. I got a stepbrother, a little brother now too. But so grew up, single mother. My real dad was never in the picture. To be honest with you, I don't believe I've ever seen a picture of my real dad. Like he's that far gone from this family type of dynamics. My childhood in my head was very good. Like I don't see bad things. Therapists, they'll tell you way different.
Yeah, right.
But so I was raised by, my mom was a school teacher.
Is that a shot at clinicians?
No, it's a shot at my childhood.
All right, there you go.
Just want my mom to feel good about it. She does listen to this podcast.
Oh, does she really?
Oh, yeah. We're doing, yeah.
Nice.
I don't like that. So I think she's such an angel. I don't want her thinking less of me.
I called her a saint on episode 1, and she still brings it up.
Oh,
Nice.
But so raised by my mom, 2 older brothers. Just like normal kid shit I say about my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
We're very much like the outdoor, run the neighborhood
Right.
type of kids. My brothers beat the shit out of me every day. The easiest way to explain my household, I explain it in the best version possible, is like Malcolm in the Middle. You ever see that show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine it was rated R.
Nice.
That was my house. Very much rambunctious. I kind of, be honest with you, not much accountability.
Mm-hmm.
God bless my mom's soul. You raise 3 boys on your own. Full-time job and any type of job you can get. How much can you do?
You're the latchkey kid kind of deal going
I
on.
don't think we locked our doors.
Yeah.
Union's a nice,
Right.
but yeah. So I kind of I wasn't home much. Just the easiest way to explain
Sure.
too. Like I was always out about. I always struggled in school. Like I was never like the smart kid growing up.
Shocking. Nice. I just love.
Definitely a lot of behavioral issues as well. I guess that's a therapist would tell me is how I got my attention growing up, was being a bad kid.
What, was it class clowny or?
No, it was more anger.
Okay.
Anger.
You fighting a lot?
Fights a lot. I would mouth off all the time. I did not take authority well, per se. Then definitely a lot of fights, a lot of just doing whatever Jacob wants when Jacob wants.
When you look back, were you happy?
Yeah, like when I look back at my childhood, I don't know. It's just like Ashley who can listen to this and tell me it's like just stringed of trauma or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I said, I remember when I was on a date when I was 20 years old, probably. It was actually with my daughter's mom, and we were getting to know each other, and we were talking about our childhood. Now I'm telling her the highlights of my childhood,
Right.
and she looked at me. She was like, "I'm sorry, that sucked."
Oh wow.
Oh, I was like,
Yeah, you were leaving out the bad shit.
it's maybe it was kind of a fucked up childhood, but in my head, it was good. My mom, she loved us.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I know with Nathaniel's story, how he kind of mentioned that was one of his puzzle pieces he missed. My house always had love.
Yeah.
I always felt loved in my house. We always had a meal. And that meal might have been gravy bread or my brothers would like this Kool-Aid, root beer flavored Kool-Aid.
Nice.
So my mom got 1,000 packs for a dime.
Yeah.
At like the expired food store, but like we always had one.
You weren't hungry.
And we didn't know like other things, you know, like
Sure.
just what we knew, and it was love in the house. There always, my mom never made you not feel love, even when she's like, you know, backhanding you or screaming at you, like you knew she loved you. And my great grandparents, I spent a lot of my childhood at my grandparents' house. They kind of raised me like half the time,
Right.
which
You have a working single. Yeah. I mean, that.
yeah. So
Work.
love was always in my house. My problem, I don't say my problem, but what I remember the most of being a kid was I never felt like I belonged. Like I always remember like sitting like in the living room thinking like I'm not like these people. Like, by these people I mean my brothers and my mom,
Really?
my stepdad and my little brother.
How old do you think you were at this?
The first time I remember having that thought is also like my story, just trigger warning for people. A lot of suicidal thoughts ran through my head. First time I ever thought about like suicide or like not belonging or should it be here was probably like 6 years old.
Really?
Young age.
Fuck.
Had to be around 6 or 7. Like I think that might be the first time I ever said like you wish I was dead or something like that. You know, like
Yeah.
young age I always had like that internal, I don't know if I want to call it depression because I didn't feel depressed. I know what depression is now.
Yeah.
Just not like I shouldn't be here type of feeling.
That's it.
Or shouldn't these people.
Heartbreaking, but it's
Yeah.
interesting. I guess
Yeah.
I'm trying to.
So, but I felt loved. I just didn't feel like, I don't know, it was low self-esteem. I didn't feel worthy of it, or
Yeah.
if I just remember always thinking like, I'm not like these people. And when I say
Felt
it
different.
was like, I'm worse.
Mm.
It wasn't just like, I'm not like them. Like there's something fucked up about me. It was always negative
Yeah.
when I thought it too. And I've had that from a very young age. Like I said, I was never like good at learning. I don't know if I said that weird. I wasn't a smart kid.
There's a reason for that, though. I'm not trying to get you to share what you've shared with me.
like I had like learning disability. I have dyslexia.
Yeah. Like, okay. Thank you for.
Yeah.
It's not that bad of a diagnosis.
Like, feel bad. Like, I'm like, bro.
Yeah.
But no, when I chirp you for not being able to read, I shouldn't. It's kind of an asshole
I
comment.
really can't.
Right.
with that.
I'm a joke. But
I did pretty good with that. But
that's trouble, though. I've met some, and I've heard teachers, like, there's kids that have battled at school, and then when they got that diagnosis, they got the resources they needed, and it like changed their life. And
Mhm.
I don't sound like that probably didn't happen in you.
I didn't get the diagnosis till probably about 18.
That's what.
But,
Yeah.
But so I didn't learn how to read. Just get to my reading, trauma here. Chris, thanks. I didn't learn how to read till like probably late first grade, second grade.
Oh.
But like once I did, like I read a lot. I could read very good.
Yeah.
Can't read out loud to save my life really, because that's when it just gets really
Sure.
mixed up. But like when I started reading, my mom, like all I did was read.
Really.
I read hundreds and hundreds of books at a young.
What's the biggest struggle, like being dyslexic? Like you remember as a kid, if you're able to, what was the struggle?
Learning it was the hardest part.
Like comprehending what you're
trying to
reading.
learn it originally is, and like I have like when I take it in, it's okay. It's not that bad when I take it in. It's when I say it out loud.
Interesting.
So like in my head, it's going incorrect when I try to tell you it.
Okay, that's where it's good.
It gets mixed up there. It's not really dyslexic. There's another word for it. I don't know it. It's like Jeff's diagnosis too long.
Ashley gets mad at my dark humor, but you ever heard that the dyslexic guy walked into a bra? I'm an asshole. I'm just fucking.
I will laugh at every joke. Sorry.
Thank Jeff. But
Thank you. And Ashley's saying you're just encouraging.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But you shared that early on, like that's why feeling different as a kid and struggling with that, because that, I mean, without anybody being able to name what it is and get you resources to help, I mean, I don't know, did that contribute to like self-worth?
I'm sure it did. Just like more of a reason I'm not like other
Sure.
kids or whatever it is. I don't know, but I felt like I thought that way, like to be indifferent probably before reading was
Okay.
in the picture,
So that, yeah.
I was like a very normal kid. Like I fit in, like looking back at like my interests and like what I wanted to do. Like it was very normal boy from my town type interests, sports, cartoons,
Fuck around on your bike and
yeah, you go build a fort in the woods. I don't, whatever it was, very normal, just in my head. I don't know if I felt like I was faking it or what it was, but I just felt like I didn't belong. But I think not like my learning being slow. So like, I think that probably made me act out in school a lot more.
Okay.
Like I was like, I've been like kicked out of school so many times.
Like what level?
All the way up to high school.
So you're talking through grade, like they call it elementary school.
Yeah, elementary school.
K through 8.
All the way up to 8th grade.
Okay.
Guy was kicked out of school. Like probably my 8th grade
fucking
school
peaked.
year. I was probably like kicked out of school more times I was really in school. Like more kicked out days. So I was always in trouble, but high school changed a lot for me because I got into sports.
Yeah.
I started playing, like I used to play like select soccer. Soccer was like the number of sport I played.
Really?
Then up till high school, so I started actually playing for the high school. I always played like not in the school league, so can't really. But also, I was still the same kid, but I was good at soccer. So they would just like tell my coach on me. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't kicked out of school. If I was kicked out of school, I couldn't play.
Right.
So it was more of just run more laps at practice.
Yeah.
Type of accountability.
That's your consequence, sure.
Which is not really a real consequence, So it just, consequences also didn't really work on me, I guess, either. Getting kicked out of school all the times growing up. But I acted out. So I'll say I was a bad kid. I know you probably shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
About other people's kids or whatever, but like I felt like I was just like looking back, I really do believe.
Jeff and I have empathetic hearts, and we don't like to hear that.
I know. I saw Jeff get a tear.
Yeah.
Like,
Wait, do you want to? Should we go hug him?
Yeah.
You're not a bad kid. Your decisions are bad.
So I was a bad kid growing up.
So when was the first time that you fell into, whether it was alcohol or weed or?
Yeah, so like I guess the first time I ever like started like mind altering substance, with like weed and alcohol, probably would have been like 8th grade school year is when I started doing it like every weekend, probably. I was definitely more of a weed heavy guy than an alcohol drinker. The first time I ever drank alcohol, like this will explain the type of addict I was from the rip, because I kept this motto going. But first time I ever drank alcohol, I woke up in the hospital from alcohol-induced coma.
Oh, yes.
I also where the catheter was that day. Horrible experience. Like that was my first time drinking alcohol. Like I drank myself into it. Like I got found on the side.
You didn't have a 6-pack.
No, I don't know. 6 bottles.
So yeah.
But like you just drink it really fast. You don't know. You're supposed to wait.
Sure.
So that was my first experience with alcohol. That huge of a negative consequence.
Fuck, man.
Wow.
Could have killed yourself.
But that was like the type of like user I was from the very beginning. Like whatever I had, I did.
You wanted it all.
Did not save for the next day. I didn't ration it whatsoever. If it's there, if I had a 6-pack of beer or a case of beer, that's what I drank that night. There's no in between.
Bottle of cheap ass vodka. You're finishing a bottle.
It has to be going.
Right.
I'll just say it's how I did heroin. If I had $20 worth or $200 worth, that's what I did that day.
Wow.
But so using 8th grade is probably when it started. My high school got more into like pain pills. But like when I took pain pills, it was because I was like in pain too. So I wasn't really like heavy abusing it. I got way more into like party drugs, I call it. So like Molly, acid, psychedelics, more of that realm. And a lot of like I smoked weed every day. Weed was my
weed every day.
Weed was definitely my like drug of choice at that time.
Okay.
But then every weekend would be filled with booze and.
I get asked, you probably do too. How I get asked almost daily what I think about weed now. Like, what are your? That's the question. What do you? Because they know where I'm in recovery. They know I'm affiliated with the IRC.
Right.
What do you think about weed? And they really want to know. You get that a lot?
I'm pro weed for normal humans. For an addict, you should not touch it. It's not healthy for a drug addict. I don't believe in California sober.
Yeah, that's kind
for
of
addict abstinence is the way. But like weed for like a non-addict, I'm pro. I should recreational switch. I don't think it should be a medicine. I think it should be recreational.
So you don't think it should be prescribed by?
No, I think it should be just at the store. Like alcohol, classified the same as alcohol. But like I'd rather people smoke weed than drink alcohol if they're normal people.
Okay.
Addict shouldn't touch either. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
it's clear.
Yeah.
No, I think that's got to be my answer moving forward, because that's what I tried. It's a tough question. I know plenty of people that say they're California sober and they're doing maybe less harm than they were. I mean, yeah, would I rather you smoke weed than buffetti? I knew I could.
Yeah. You wanted to say that word so bad.
Yeah, right. You
Right.
smoke weed.
I get
but
that. I'm not a big.
but don't go to a meeting and say you're sober.
But most people I know who say they're California sober just mean they only smoke weed.
Right.
They're not actual
Not
addicts.
Sure.
Yeah.
See, the movement was started by somebody that was a dependent alcoholic, not an alcoholic.
Right.
So a dependent drinker, I should say, not
Yeah.
an alcoholic. So they started this California movement. And then with that movement now goes to people like me or Chris, which is thoroughbred addicts. And they're trying to say they're like us, but they're not.
Right.
And that movement's going to kill addicts.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer. I don't believe in it whatsoever. I believe it will kill addicts. A lot of addicts will die thinking.
The
Right.
2 years I was at rock bottom, I woke up one Sunday, had some boys over. We were going to watch a NASCAR race, and I said, I'm done drinking. I'm just going to smoke weed today. And I mean, this is I am repetitively drinking a jug of whiskey a day. So this day I'm going to stop. So my buddy packed me a bowl, some Kind Bud, and I smoked it and then drank another bottle of whiskey.
Yeah, exactly.
Thicker than a dog.
Yeah.
And they're like, they just looked at me and laughed. Like, you're such a dumbass. I felt like a high school kid again when I mixed my shit. And I was like, I'm so sick. They were just chirping me the whole time. But yeah, that didn't last long. My California sober lasted about one bowl.
Yeah.
I tried it once after first getting clean, like trying to honestly be clean. And I lasted like a week
Really?
before I was on heroin. Yeah.
Wait, so, okay. Drug of choice was weed.
When I was like in high school.
Yeah.
So that's what I did the most of.
But you were doing acid, you were rolling balls.
And then after high school, so like I said, I never was like a smart guy.
You make it so easy. You're very smart, Jacob.
Thank you. I wasn't back when I got through my core to beliefs and actually started looking at a lot of character defects and things, horrible thought patterns. Right, so I am a smart guy. I'm very smart today. I had to relearn how to learn through recovery. Taught me that, and I learned how to take in information. So very smart today.
You good. I'm glad you see that. You were.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are past beliefs.
Yeah, I'm not trying to blow you. You're
Current beliefs.
You're one of the smartest in especially in this sector.
Oh, every time we have a podcast, he says at least one sentence, and I'm like, oh.
Right. Well, I mean, and
Yeah.
you've lived this life every day, because that's what it is, for 8 years now, and worked in it and helped people and been part of communities. I mean, and so.
I just love recovery. Like, recovery is my favorite thing in this whole wide world. Like, I'll speak for like watching, at least through myself, and definitely because being really close with my mom.
You addicted to recovery?
I love the passion. I love the change people make.
Sure.
I love like how somebody like me that thought I was the world's biggest piece of shit, didn't deserve any outs of anything good in this world, be able to give good out to humans now. Like, that's a complete 180, and I'm not special. Like, I don't believe I'm a special human. I believe we're all equals when it comes to our capabilities. And if anybody can, I love that concept of recovery.
Yeah.
No addict has to die from this disease. No addict has to be stuck in the grips of addiction. There is a way for all of us to get out.
You said that the very first episode 1, you said that you've never met someone that can't get an addict that cannot get clean and sober.
No,
that you've
don't believe.
Right. No, that's powerful shit, man. That's inspiring. I've said it too. If I could, and I've heard people say it. If he can stop drinking, anybody can.
Right.
It's not like a flex here or whipping my cock out. And trust me, if I can do it, you can, man. Or you can do it. So I totally resonate with what you just said, and it's super important because I think it's inspiring. And then I see you, I mean, literally cheer people on every day that come in here that are at the all-time most hopeless point of their life, and that that's given them hope,
Right.
which is what this whole thing is. So, yeah, I mean, I was saying, are you addicted to recovery? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's.
I'm addicted to bettering myself and helping others get better. Like, I am a firm believer, too, in recovery. Like, we're not allowed to be stagnant.
Yeah.
Complacency will kill you.
Sure.
I'm
Sure.
not allowed
I agree with
to get that luxury in life. And you get addicted to working on all those other issues, the little things to the bigger things. You feel better about yourself, you know. That's
what. So when did you go from, you know, weed, sheets of acid, whatever, to pain? So you did pain. You had pain pills, but for injuries.
Yeah, like it was more like they were illegal. Or like take them before games, after games, just because I'm hurt, couldn't afford to be injured. Because like really like through high school, I had the mindset of like, if I don't get to college for soccer, I will not go to college, which is semi-true for all this. But like my senior year, I fucked my knee up real bad, and I couldn't play anymore. Like I broke my kneecap, so no, soccer was out the window. And that's really where like I went to like usually like smoking weed during the week and only drinking on the weekends type of thing to every day just blasted as I could be.
Yeah.
And that went from, like I said, it was acid and like research chemicals, but like I was that drug addict. I did, like when I said I did acid, I did probably about 5 to 15 hits of acid a day, Monday through Friday.
Wow.
Jesus.
And then the weekend was like weed and recover. And then I was working that time too. But that was like my hat. Like I said,
frying your fucking.
I'm all in. Like do drugs. Like there's no like I'm gonna take one today.
Sure.
It's like, well, I better start with 5. Or if a drug dealer, I don't know how many dealers you had that said this, but like, don't take more than one of them. It's really good shit. Oh, I better take 3. You know, that was always my mindset. But that went on probably till I was about like 21, I would say. And then when I was 21, I moved away from Union out to Springfield, Missouri.
Oh yeah.
And I moved out there, kind of get away from like. So I was fried. My brain was fucked. Like I could not tell directions, how to get anywhere.
I mean, that does a lot of damage to your brain, to acid, doesn't it? When you're doing it that way.
Yeah, I'd assume so. Yeah. I was lucky. Your brain is good at repairing itself and is plastic that way. But like I remember the day I realized my brain was super fucked up. Anybody that knows Union, it's like a one highway town. There's Highway 50. It goes right through the middle. Everything of importance is on that highway. And I remember I was in Pizza Hut parking lot. A random lady asked me how to get to McDonald's. So everybody knows it's take a right on 50. It's right there. You can't miss it. I didn't know where it was. Grew up in this town my whole life.
Yeah.
I could not think about how to get to McDonald's. And that's when I realized there's something like my brain.
Wow.
And this was on like a Sunday, so it's after my 2 days of healing.
Right.
So that's when I realized that my brother Jordan lived out in Springfield.
Okay.
So I moved in with him because he needed a roommate. Him and his girlfriend, I think, just split up. So he needed some help with bills. I had a little bit of money, so I moved up there with him. And
you said you're working. Like, what kind of jobs?
During that time, I was doing landscaping. It was my main job. I worked in a gas station too for a bit. Just kind of landscaping was my main type of job.
Whatever to get the paycheck.
At winter time, I did like gas station work.
Okay.
Didn't really do any factories, just kind of mostly gas station type stuff. And I got fired from a gas station one time because I lost $400 one night because I was on a bunch of acid. I couldn't understand the concept of money. A lot of people got really good change that night.
You didn't even steal it. You were giving it away.
No idea.
The fucking Santa Claus of it. Nice.
So he gives you 10, I guess $40. That kind of, you imagine.
Did that ever happen to you before where you get like more change than you're supposed to? And now I know that the guy's frying.
Never happens to me.
Right.
The gas station that worked.
No shit.
Yeah.
But no, so I moved out to Spring.
Fuckers didn't bring it back. Jack off. That pisses me off. Your drawer was short $400.
Yeah.
And that's why there's any money in it. But
Seems like it'd be
the only drug addict that like didn't steal it.
Yeah, I didn't get it. No. But I moved out to Spring. I was like, I'm gonna spend a year.
It's a come and go out there. That's what they're called. Come and go.
Yeah. So I moved to Springfield. I'm like, I'm gonna quit doing like hard drugs, and I'm just gonna. I didn't know anybody but my brother. I was like,
can I ask if your brother partakes?
no, he's a normal human.
Thanks.
He drinks or smokes weed or whatever.
Not an alien like us.
He's not an addict, but so I'm the only addict in my family. Out of my brothers and my mom.
That's a cool point to make.
Yeah,
that
so I'm the only one out of them.
Because it's what I mean. This is important. It's mindfulness and acceptance that we are different.
Yeah.
Than Jeff when it comes to addiction and alcoholism. You can have a bourbon on a Tuesday and not end up fucking homeless.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you realize that, you take a little bit of control back.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, except like when you finally, that's like in at least a 12-step program, they talk about surrender. That's like the main factor. Surrendering the idea that you are a normal, like you have to accept you're an addict.
Right.
Yeah.
But surrender the idea that you could use someday. And once you do, like, that's when you're free.
Sure.
That's when the weight gets off your back. That's when you start making like huge progress in your life.
Right.
All the things that you didn't like before, or like bothered you before, like everything starts working out. That's the start of just accepting that I'm an addict.
Yeah.
You know, I can't have a bourbon on Tuesday.
Right.
But,
No, and then because I remember going through a period of when I'd say even before my old man died, because we work hard, play hard. That was our thing. And I always justify this, my friends go out and drink. They got, they're fucking going out and drinking. And then when he died, and that's why I would say that the bottom fell out for me. For those 2 years, these guys can fucking drink. Why should I have to quit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I'm comparing them again. It's not, it's just bullshit thinking.
I do want to say, when I moved to Springfield, it was not me saying I'm an addict. Like, that's not my mindset.
Right.
Yeah. It's up to an acid.
You didn't come to that until recovery, right?
Much later, yeah. I did the whole like gambit that y'all get into of like every client I ever seen says the same stuff I said. It's one of those very stereotype drug addicts over here.
Sure.
But so I went to Springfield just like, I'm going to get my head right. I'm going to
God's country down there in Springfield. Bible.
Get away from all the using people I was using with, just get out of it. Like my best friend actually just got picked up. He had to do 10 years in prison. So he just got locked up.
Up in Union?
In Union.
Okay.
So that's why I'm just like, time to fucking go. Heat's kicking in here. So I moved up there, and then I did what anybody should do. I got a job in like a liquor store.
Nice.
It was like a grocery store. I worked the liquor department. And my main job was like new products coming in, like when the vendors and the marketers came in to sell like a new whiskey or new wine or new beer, whatever it was. I talked to them, I helped them set it up, and I did like the sampling and stuff like that. So kind of whatever's new coming into the store, I was like the store's person.
Mm-hmm.
Which also came with like a lot of free alcohol. Because whatever samples you give away, which not many people are taking, a whiskey shot at fucking Kroger's at 9 a.m.
Right.
I was.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I would always leave there like every night with like at least a 6-pack and like a fit.
Well, and no one working in a bar, they don't inventory that. And if it's a sample giveaways.
Yeah, they gave it to you. They said,
right.
Whatever's not finished, take home.
Sure. So it's not like, if you work at a liquor store or grocery store, I'm sure if you took a bottle of fucking VO, which is what I drink, and it had already been inventoried in, they're going to know it's missing if it wasn't paid for.
Right.
With this, when they come in with the samples and shit, it's just fucking.
It's free game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Halloween.
So it wasn't stealing.
Right. Yeah. That's why I brought that up. I want to make sure people know you weren't a dirtbag.
At that point.
I gave money away, remember. At that point, too. So I started just drinking every day. And I drank just like I used before.
Right.
I had a fifth and a 6-pack a day, so therefore I drink a fifth and a 6-pack a day.
Right.
And this is when, like, when looking back, it should have been my wake-up call that I had drinking more, because it was up by MSU, so I was hanging out with a lot of the frat guys and stuff like that.
Missouri State, for people that...
Mm-hmm.
My friends I met, there were a lot of, like, the frat party houses, stuff like, and I'm hanging out with people that would do, like, the 48-hour drink marathons. Like, that was their parties. And I remember I would always go to the parties with whiskey, like just straight whiskey, and like a maple whiskey. And the maple whiskey was my chaser.
Nice.
So that's how
My man.
And I remember like one of the guys, I can't remember his name, I should, but he's like, "Hey, we have a drinking problem. We're worried about you." And these are guys like keg stands thrown up on themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Eggs and eggs. My sister Brooke went to Missouri State. Yeah. Just
She wasn't at this party.
she wasn't. Fucking better not have been. I'll round her ass.
And guy says that to me. So like my solution to that was I started getting like beer bottles and filling them up with whiskey.
So you're hiding it from these.
Yeah, hiding it from like raging
Yeah.
years by drinking my whiskey out of beer bottles. They thought I was just drinking beer.
God.
It was just straight whiskey. And I did that for the whole year. And it was fucking... Got to a point where, like, I would have withdrawal symptoms. I had to drink waking up almost, probably about 11 a.m.
It's important to note that I'm guessing the whiskey you were shooting from the bottle, this isn't like the bourbon that's out today that people like to sip because it tastes good and they let it breathe. Like, this is the fucking shit, rot gut.
I was drinking like Jack Daniels or
fuck, even Jack.
it's all samples.
Gentleman Jack.
I was drinking the good shit.
And in everybody's defense, there's something about Jack that fucking makes people a different human being. Worse than any other. I know a lot of people that they're still fucking drunks or they don't admit that, and they'll drinking their ass off down at the taverns I grew up at, but they won't drink Jack because if they drink Jack, watch the fuck out.
Yeah.
They're next thing you know, they're in a bar fight and sticking pool ball. They take off their tube sock and fill it with pool balls and start fucking like a battle axe. I've seen this shit. Then they blame the Jack Daniels, not the... Yeah.
I was that guy.
Yeah.
So you're chugging whiskey and you're hiding it from college binge drinkers that are telling you that you, Jacob, have a drinking problem while they're upside down doing a cake stand. That's great. That's a great visual.
So
I can just picture the guy. They take the tap out of his mouth. Like, Jacob, you're fucked up.
Yeah.
You got to drink it.
You have a problem.
right, yeah.
Hold me up. You can't even hold me up. You're so fucked up.
So like looking back, that's like my should have been a wake up call. I still remember like talking about the denial of addiction. Like before that, like because I knew what drug addicts were.
Sure.
You know, like a lot of drug addicts where I'm from. And my excuse that I'm not a drug addict because I did all drugs. Because a drug addict only did like meth,
which is prevalent down in Springfield.
Right. In my defense, I'm like, why do all drugs? So how can I
That's incredible. I've never heard that line of defense.
No.
That's a new
style strong.
Yeah.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
So drank for that year, then I moved. After that year was up, I moved back to Washington, which is where Nathaniel's actually from, but town over from Union. And with like a group of my buddies that I lived with.
Why'd you leave? I
just wanted to go there for a year. I never wanted to stay in Springfield. It was not a goal. Like I just want to go there for a year. So I felt like my brain healed as I'm doing all that. And I planned on moving back. So I moved back after the year was up. And I moved in with my buddies that I lived with before. But that whole year I was gone. Like I saw them a couple times. I knew they were fucking around with like harder drug. Heroin would be the drug they were messing around with. I knew they were. I didn't know they were like full on heroin addicts. Nor would I have cared if I didn't know. Like I want to make sure. If I knew they were heroin addict, everyday users, I still would have moved in. It would not have changed my thought at all. So I moved in with them. I'm heavily dependent on alcohol too. So I'm drinking every single day. They're all fucked up on heroin every day. That lasted like maybe a week. We're like, this fucking sucks. Like it sucks being drunk around a bunch of heroin addicts. So
pretty boring.
Which I'm going to say, make sure I say this very clear. I do not recommend this. I will detox off my alcohol with heroin as to get rid of the DTs and get through it. And so therefore I'm heavily addicted to heroin. And that's kind of where like the heroin started for me. So
you started heroin to detox because we've talked about it, and it's always important to note that trying to quit alcohol cold turkey, it can be fatal. We can't do it. My doctor told me don't stop drinking until you go to medical detox. So that's that we've talked about it. That's important to note.
Right.
But I don't. You might be the first person that I know that's medically assisted treatment with self-administered heroin.
Remember, I said I wasn't the brightest person. That's all making sense why I said that.
Yeah,
you know,
that's just what reckless people do.
So did that. And I started doing landscaping again for like a side job, and my heroin use turned into daily use right from the start.
Right.
I did it for that first like 10 days, trying to not feel sick from alcohol. I kept feeling.
How are you using? How are you doing?
I was snorting at that.
Okay.
So all nasal, not moving yet, Chris, but. So
not yet.
Yeah, not yet. We all come around to it. So snorting at that moment, and this is like this is not an accurate statement. This is when I used heroin like a gentleman. No, very respectfully. I wasn't robbing people. I made my money, bought my drugs, and
snorted a little H.
Yeah, just did heroin every day, all day long.
Yeah.
But I was doing that also. That lasted, probably about 6 months before I got on a needle. The transition probably for a lot of us, anybody's in recovery.
This is important because I'm not I thank God it didn't get into heroin. I think I'd be dead. Jeff, a lot of people that listen have no idea. We sometimes talk over it, but how does it go from snorting heroin to shooting, putting a needle in your own arm, which everybody's scared of needles. Everybody, every one I've talked to hated going to the doctor and getting a shot. Can't even look at it. But they go from that is, you don't wake up one day and say, I'm going to start IV heroin.
It's faster than a lot of people would think, but really, because it's going to sound bad, but it's a financial decision that you make using heroin.
And I hear that. That's what I hear. But that sounds like fucking desperation.
I was spending, $100 a day just to get off sick. To when I went to an IV, it was $20 a day. Because it's just that potent that way. I don't know the scientific reasons for it, but.
Well, this is.
So you make that switch, but also when you make that switch, that $20 a day turns into $100 a day very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And that's when, I could no longer hold a job if I wanted to. I could no longer really do it just became all heroin.
Fuck.
And at that time as well is right around the time. So I was probably shooting up. I was probably 50-50. I'll still snort and shoot up back and forth. Is when my girlfriend at the time got pregnant. So that's when she got pregnant. And so I need to quit doing heroin. Right, that was the mindset. And I feel like I skipped a lot of shit. Sure, I did.
It's all right. Jump around.
Yeah.
So
it's hard to.
Because I think I was probably shooting up a lot longer than that. But
so when you moved back, how old were you when you moved back from Springfield?
Probably 22, maybe.
And how old were you when your daughter was born?
25.
So there's a couple years.
26.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's.
Oh yeah. So I missed a lot then. So
yeah.
So I was shooting up. I was
Well, it's hard to probably even, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I've lived with a heroin addict. He lived in my basement and he was using, I knew but didn't know because I was so fucking gone to my alcoholism. And you had said this earlier, the other roommates, we were all alcoholics and we would play cards and dice after the bar if we even went there. And where's he at? He can't, and if he sat at the card table, he would fall asleep with his fucking cards. And we didn't, we knew something, well, did he smoke too much weed? But we fucking knew. And then when he ended up moving out, I found all the shit in the basement. But you say you skipped over. I mean, it's probably hard to recollect.
Your timeline is just it's a blur.
It's just picture you falling out all the time.
You're not coherent.
Do you know what that means?
I think so.
It's like you see them on the street, you Narcan somebody.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, I did.
Really, that's completely overdosing. But when somebody's used heroin and they're just slumped the fuck over for hours, right? Or
good chunk you're just in and out.
Yeah.
So give yourself a little grace not being able to recollect those 4 years while you're using heroin.
I can recollect them. There's just the time, timeline's so skewed during that time of my life. It's also where a lot of trauma would be kicking in, saw a lot of bad shit. You're hanging out with a lot of bad people. And so girlfriend's pregnant. I spent that 9 months probably just trying to willpower stoppage, Don't think I ever made it longer than 12 hours, but I'm going to stop using it today. That was
12 hours.
Let me ask a question about heroin and so anytime I've ever smoked weed, it's just to feel good, right? So at what point does it stop being about getting high to feel good with heroin and just to not be dope sick? And then is there ever a point where you're like, I don't even feel good, it's just to not be sick?
Yeah, so most of my, definitely towards the end of my use, that's all it was.
Yeah.
during that time of my life, I still got high,
Yeah.
but I was probably doing $100 to $200 a day of heroin. And you get to that point that your tolerance just gets so high, the sickness gets so bad
Yeah.
that you don't there's no normal, it's just high or dope sick.
Yeah.
And the high sucks.
Right.
It's not that your tolerance is just so built up.
Yeah.
And
That's that. I mean, just hearing you, I feel like it's got to be such an exhausting, and that doesn't even cut it.
it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
It's all you do all day.
Because how do you?
Because you're going to be sick the next day, so
You hate to ask the question how you make the money, you know?
a lot of bad things.
Of course. I mean, that's when you start robbing your grandma, right? That's the kind of shit that happens.
And I'm a big believer, at least for my disease, the more you love me, the more I was going to take from you.
Right.
Like, that's just how I operate.
Mm-hmm.
I army crawled through windows of my parents' house, and army crawl across their bedroom.
Yeah, but that doesn't sound super unique. I mean, you see that a lot, right?
Yeah.
That's majority.
So if parents are out there and they're seeing this behavior, I mean, there's fucking hope. We got to person clean, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But that's a really you're robbing your mother, and there's a lot of people that just don't understand this shit that'll be like, fuck that motherfucker. He's the biggest, piece of shit on the planet. He stole from his mom, like, without realizing, wait a second, why the fuck is little Johnny stealing from his mother?
Right.
Yeah.
Or Jacob.
Little Jacob.
And that's before my disease even this isn't near my rock bottom.
Wow.
But so I spent that first 9 months of my girlfriend being pregnant trying to get clean. Let me remind you, my girlfriend, not a drug addict. She was one of those, like, glass of wine on a holiday, maybe, type of people. Completely oblivious to what drugs are. Like, not a clue.
Yeah.
What barely even knew what weed looked like type of drugs, So she had no idea at all. My family didn't know.
How the hell did you two get together?
Fucking, I don't know. Internet. I still back then I still presented.
You were,
Yeah.
I was very good, definitely at that point in my addiction, where the people that were around me were my men. Because I was not one that rolled around with a bunch of drug addicts. I had one or two people that knew I was using. My close friends I moved in with, they were the only ones that knew. Everybody else, not a slightest idea. That's
wow.
And even while shooting up in that beginning, I hit it very well. So I went for the first time. I could not do it. And then my daughter was born. I guess I'll fix my chair a little bit. But so when we talk about addiction, I think it's really important to talk about the biggest thing it takes away from us. This is that moment for me. So it was the day my daughter was born. Because leading up to that, you both are dads, so you both know. When you become a dad, it's a whole nother object. I remember, Jeff, you probably remember this. People tell you you don't become a dad till your kid's born. And that's what's really going to hit you.
Right.
Mom's a little bit sooner because they're brewing the little sucker up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Way to mansplain it.
Yeah.
I can't wait till last week.
But and I remember so my girlfriend at the time, she had to get an emergency C-section. She had a preeclampsia.
Mm-hmm.
So they called me and I had to rush up to the hospital and get up there doing the C-section thing, which is fucking crazy as fuck to see. I'm in the hospital room with her and they hand me my daughter. First person besides the doctor to hold her. And Annalise Miller, perfect kid in the world, by the way, everybody's aware.
She's awesome.
Dr. and all I thought about that whole time was getting heroin. Thought about because I rushed in that room, so I didn't get a fix before I got in. Had some. And all I could think about was, when can I go to the bathroom to get high? I didn't get hit with those emotions that they all said I was going to. I didn't. So, had this big moment. It's all I could think of.
Damn, man.
Was using.
Wow.
And that is, looking back at that was the biggest thing my disease ever took away from me.
That you can never get back.
We'll get to that because I do.
Okay, sorry. I just am feeling for you, baby.
Recovery, I believe, gives us back everything we lost.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah. So that was my
This is at the hospital.
So that was a really horrible wake up call for me. So after we got out of the hospital, it's probably like a month. We were in the hospital for 2 weeks, probably, maybe. Caitlin, that's my daughter's mom.
Because of her complications?
Her blood pressure.
Yeah.
It was probably like 5 days. Felt like 2 weeks to me. I'll probably get that so wrong. She's probably going to hate me. We got out. It was probably like a month after my daughter was born is when I like came clean finally to like my mom. My mom was the first one I told. I showed up at her house late at night and say, "Mom, I'm a heroin addict. I need treatment. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I can't do this on my own. I need fucking help." My mom did not know I was a heroin addict leading up to this. She, looking back, like now she can say, like, I always knew something was wrong.
Sure.
You know, something was fucked up, but like I didn't know what it was. That's probably the language my mom would use. So she called one of those like 1-800 numbers, you see online or whatever, or found on Google. Called the place and talked to him on the phone that night. I was on an airplane the next morning going to treatment. I went to this place up in South Bend, Indiana. It was very good trauma treatment, which I needed a lot of like EMDR work I got done there. It was fantastic.
It's a big clinical term.
I can't tell you what it means, but it's for trauma.
Yeah, it's a therapy technique.
It's
right, Ash?
eye movement, something. Comment if you know the answer.
Yeah.
It's
right.
From what I heard, you really worked through the fucking trauma.
It was phenomenal. Like leading up to
there's no getting around it.
I was probably having night terrors for about like 8 years every night, like reliving a trauma that I had. After like 3 sessions with the therapist I had there, I have never had a night terror.
Wow.
Like it did phenomenal work for me there. And I was up at that treatment center for quite a long time. The bad side of that treatment center, not want to talk shit on it, but it was Scientology based.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was at Notre Dame.
Yeah. So it was fucking. I also went to Easter Sunday at Notre Dame Church.
Oh,
it was fucking
nice.
cool.
I bet.
But yeah, Scientology based. They taught me a lot about smart recovery, which I'm a huge fan of still to this day, and a lot of L. Ron Hubbard.
And Tom Cruise, did you have to give money to Tom Cruise?
Oh, he's
all right.
Peace sign when he walks by.
Stacey Carosi.
Yeah.
From Saved by the Bell. Leah Remini.
Yeah.
I watched her shit.
Oh, I love her.
Shit all over that site.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Then went to that treatment, and in my head at that time too, I was very heavily focused on like I just need to not do heroin. Did not believe I was a drug addict.
Really?
I just thought I had a heroin problem. Still thought I could like drink or smoke weed. And the whole like I was a perfect client. Like I make sure I tell the clients here, like when I was at that treatment center, all the staff would have they would have like the best client nomination. Like you we're in charge of like chore lists give out. Like you got a special role when you're a good client there. I was me from like 2 weeks in. Like I was an ideal client. I wish I had 40 of me over there. Not really.
Yeah.
The story changed.
Sure.
It's like,
you were easy.
But I was a perfect client. I used 45 minutes after leaving that treatment center.
God.
I had a 30-minute plane ride in that story. I don't even think my mom knows this. Sorry, Mom. So my mom picked me up from the airport. I had my dope dealer meet me there so I could cop before I got my mom so I could use. Wow. So like, perfect client, did not listen to a single thing they said. We're addicts. We're faking and manipulating.
Did you
say the right thing?
Did they do medically assisted detox?
Yeah.
So
detox. I did the full residential program. I just
taper off Suboxone?
Yeah, taper. So I only had it for like 7 days.
Okay.
Which for me has always been the best way for me to do it. So just detox.
Sure.
And then that's the way I did the last time I went to treatment too. But
that's wild. The 45 minutes.
Yeah. Probably an hour.
Yeah.
Give or take. Airport, fly home. I lasted 5 minutes landing at St. Louis before I got out.
Wow.
So used it, but I wanted it to be like my last time,
Yeah.
That was on campus.
Also, when I went, Mom, I was a heroin addict. I didn't know I was going to treatment the next morning.
Yeah.
So I did hang on to probably a little bit of that. Like I never got that last use in. But got home. Mom drove me back. I ended up doing what highly, highly don't recommend for anybody listening. I moved in with this guy that I met in treatment. He had a place in Champaign, Illinois.
ILL, baby.
So my thought is I'll move in with him for like 6 months And
You lived in Champaign?
yeah, for like 2 months, a month, not long.
Didn't know this. Where at?
I don't fucking know.
Come on.
I don't Champaign, Illinois, by the college.
The college. It's the fucking Harvard of the Midwest.
I don't fucking know. But
It was my fucking town for a couple of years. Listen, I'm such a
wait, dude, get out of here.
show.
That was
Partied my fucking ass.
Could have been the community college for all we know that he lived at.
Parkland.
Parkland, yeah.
Some classes there.
Yeah.
so highly don't recommend just moving because he had a house up there. His drug of choice was air duster.
Yeah, I mean, I fucking don't understand it.
I didn't understand it then. In my head, like, I'm IV heroin addict. I'm like, that's not a real fun. This will be fine.
The dust off can.
Yeah. Which I'll tell you now, after living with this guy, that's a horrible, horrible thing.
I didn't realize.
That it does to people. It's
Do you put it up there like with nitrous, or is it a different?
it's the same. I would put
Yeah.
like, nitrous. I've heard is cleaner. I put quotation marks with my finger.
Right.
Everybody listening, but it's the same in my. It basically kills your brain cells so fast you get fucked up.
God. And I didn't realize it until we opened here that there's big fucking problems out there with people checking into needing rehab for nitrous. Did you know this?
No.
Like
They sell it.
they
Like,
call it hippie crack.
Right.
you go buy a tank at a store.
You go to a Fish concert or a Dead concert and they leave. There's just tanks of nitrous scattered across the parking lot.
Is that what like the balloons are and
Yeah.
stuff? Yeah.
Yes, and I'm telling you, I did not know it was a thing. Pierre was doing church group. What are you in for? Gas. What do you mean? Is that the new slang word for fentanyl?
Right.
Like
Nitrous.
whippets, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And emptying my mom's bank account on whippets.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But
He tried whippets in high school, but it didn't work out.
I tried them in Champaign. I was in high school. I can't. It was funny, but we did it, and I was like, that was the most intense 45-second high I
Yeah.
had.
It's a fucking horrible.
And the big, you use the cracker and then the balloon, and next thing you know, you're like, you
It's
fucking.
or so people know how to do it.
So,
but
this is a hot. So you move in with a guy in Champaign that's sucking dust off.
So I do want to go back to when I was in treatment. So like I left quickly for treatment too, and they did like we do it here. We have a 7-day blackout.
Mhm.
So like detox, you don't get a phone call, nothing like that. And I remember I got my phone call. Like I had my mom like call my daughter's mom and tell her, "Hey, Jacob's a heroin addict in treatment," because she had no idea that I had a problem either.
Wow.
So that's how like she found out. So that ended that relationship.
Good girl.
Yeah, it's very smart move.
I want to meet this gal. We're just saying, she seems like a great girl.
She is great. She's a fantastic mother. We have a great relationship.
Yeah, you've mentioned. That's why I felt comfortable saying that you guys are really great together. And I've met your daughter, and I want to tell Jeff a story. She came to you brought her to our church once, and she went right up to the pastor and said, "Can I play Mary?" Like she was not scared. Like they weren't even having a play or anything.
Right.
He was going to play Mary, damn it. And,
Yeah, there wasn't a play.
and the pastor there, she's great. She's from Springfield. She's great. She's like, as soon as we do something with Mary, you're playing it. Like she was all for it.
She's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I love her.
Yeah, she's great.
There's a big theater kid.
Love it.
I mean, I mean, this needs to be a thing. Like she's,
That's her goal.
yeah, that's awesome.
Meet Caleb Miofsky.
There you go.
Then,
Charlie, yeah.
so that's how like her mom found out that had a drug problem. So in treatment.
Imagine that phone call.
Another thing, I copped out and had to use my enabling mother at the time to do it for me. So, which I talked to her later on, and but
Active addiction, I mean, when we're at our rock bottom, I think it is the absence of any courage. Like we just don't. It's not a thing. We're so full of shame, and so give yourself some grace. But
Thank
you know what? Don't you agree? Like
so you know, Chris, before you get on therapy, I've overcame all this.
okay, good. I just want to give you a.
Past things I've overcame much better.
For heaven forbid there be a little empathy over here.
All right.
Oh, damn.
Did a lot of work lately.
Fucking QAnon over here. Go ahead.
So moved in with this guy in Champaign. Instantly I was smoking weed and drinking right from the leaving treatment. Like I never planned on not doing that. And so was he. He relapsed on air duster like 2 weeks with me living there.
Mm.
And that's what I said, like all day long just laying in his bed doing air duster, pissing himself, spitting it was disgusting.
Oh my God.
worth. Like, I've never seen that in my life.
These are the cans you get at like a computer office max.
Like slick cleaner computer. Like 100 cans just scattered his bedroom. So I called my mom.
Tell me it's not a disease.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I called my mom at that moment, and I told her, like, hey, he relapsed. I'm going to pack the car up, and can I come stay with you? She doesn't know I'm smoking weed or drinking. She thinks I'm completely clean.
Mm-hmm.
And so she said, of course, like, come in, give you some time to kind of figure shit out, get a job, find a place to live. So I'm like, all right, cool. Move in with her, and that's like the first time I ever gave like abstinence a try. Abstinence a try, and I made it to 100 days. So I was like, my
Interesting.
longest clean time I ever had at that moment was at 100 days, and I drank a beer on my 100th day. So I guess I had 99 if you don't count the 100th day.
Yeah.
And I drank a beer, went out to eat with my mom. Sorry, Mom. And I somehow manipulated, convinced her that I could have a beer. Oh, I learned this in treatment, you know.
Liar.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck I told her. So I drank a beer, and lo and behold, like, I didn't go get heroin that night. Which was always like this scared story they tell you. You know, you do this once, you go smoking.
It doesn't work that
you know?
way. Yeah.
And I drank a beer, and like, I didn't crave another beer. I didn't fucking go out that night and do anything crazy. I went home, went to bed. And at that time, I was working as a pizza delivery driver. So, drink a beer. Then that following weekend, though, I guess I could drink beer now.
Yeah, right. It gives you that false.
Yeah, it's a false accomplishment. That's what I call it. It made me feel like I achieved this. Oh, I am a normal person. I can do this. Since I did it the one time. Sure.
Right.
Mind you, I was at like an Applebee's. They only gave me one beer.
I want to remind,
Yeah.
go back to your first time getting drunk when you were a kid. You ended up in a fucking coma.
So that following weekend, I went and bought like a 6-pack, and I went over to my buddy's house. I haven't seen it in a while. And he did heroin back in the day. I knew he wasn't using heroin anymore, but he was still drinking. He did the same thing I was doing. And went and hung out with him. I drank the 6-pack, got buzzed, did the responsible thing, and I slept on his couch. Like, I didn't even drink and drive. Horrible thing. I usually drove drunk. I was not experienced in that area. And I'm going to be responsible. I'm sleeping on your couch. Not going to drink and drive. I'm also that person. I fucking hate not sleeping in my bed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hate it. So, but I did it. So the next day I woke up, I'm like, that fucking sucked. I want my bed. You know what I can drive on? Weed. So I'm just going to buy some weed. So I buy some weed that day, right?
Any mind-altering substance.
Oh,
Yeah. I got to it.
So I bought weed. And when I smoke weed, that's when like the old Jacob kicked in very quickly of like more all day long. So for probably about a week, I just smoked. I was a pizza delivery driver, which don't want to burst anybody's bubbles. They don't really frown upon smoking weed when you're a pizza delivery driver. Yeah. At least not places I've ever seen. But so did that for like a week, and then I'm getting tips. And then when you're hanging around with people that sell weed, a good chance is they're gonna know people that have other stuff.
Sure.
So it just so happened I heard somebody knew somebody that could get heroin. Did I go to that person to buy heroin? No, because I'm a heroin addict. I'm going to drive to the city and get heroin. It's cheaper. So that's what I did. I heard heroin, automatically flipped that thought, and I'll just go do that tonight. Went and did that, and then I was just full in back to old ways. I think I snorted for like one night. I was back on a needle the next day.
Damn.
That went on for a couple days. I fell out. I don't say overdose, but I fell out in the bathroom at work at that gas station. They don't mind smoking weed. Very frowned upon if you're fucking falling out.
Sure.
Yeah, can imagine.
And so I fell out in the bathroom. I didn't have to get Narcan or nothing like that. Like, I woke up eventually on my own. So that's why I don't call it an overdose. But I was fired.
Thank God.
Well, they told me, you need to go take a drug test. If you pass the drug test, your job is good. If you fail it, you're fired. So I get on Google how to pass a drug test. They said drink a bunch of dry gelatin for Jell-O. Does not work. So I drank like 5 ounces of Jell-O. Went and pissed. It was horrible. Failed the drug test. And got fired. So when I got fired, that's when my mom was like, fuck you type of attitude. I won't say it that way. It's when she really started, like, she took off the enabling. She wasn't helping me anymore. She no longer, like, really, I was not able to really use her house now. There's no getting away with it. There was no hiding it. The gig is up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I go full, like, that's why I went, like, full chunk mode. I went to shooting up. I was sleeping in Vacos in the city.
What's that?
Abandoned houses.
Okay.
My number one spot was off North Grand. There was an abandoned school up there. Had a nice little spot.
So this is here in St. Louis.
Yeah, it's in St. Louis.
So you're probably sharing that with other.
Oh, they like the school was nice because it was big enough where I could have my own spot.
Yeah.
Like the
But there are people like all over that school.
homeless people everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unhoused.
Right.
Jeff said it, dude. You could look at.
Sorry, I didn't say right. Listen, you know what? Let me go on a tangent. This is kind of something I kind of dig about being around people in recovery. Because at first I thought, I wonder how many things we need to be like gentle about speaking. And I'm realizing that people in recovery tend to not be so gentle.
Some of us were sticking heroin up our ass
Right.
to get high.
Yeah.
And considering Chris never done heroin.
Sorry if we say homeless versus unhoused.
Yeah. Well, I remember the first time we started this podcast, people were like, why do you have to talk like that? Why do you have to say those cuss words all the time? And Chris was like, that's how people fucking talk.
Right. So our audience is, all right, we know your audience, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's people that are doing this now that need to hear it and need to understand the language and not worry about the F word, the big bad F word.
Right.
So I was doing that for months at that moment. It probably was really heavy on it for like 3 months. That's when I was like, my mindset was like I think we talked about this before of like saying that like you're going to die to a drug addict. It doesn't scare us.
Right.
Right.
I woke up every day like thinking, Jeff made me laugh. I'm not crying.
Okay, let it out.
Woke up every day thinking,
Or this is a safe place, brother.
so every day like you welcome death as a heroin.
Sure.
Definitely at that point, like dying would not have been a bad thing in my head. I didn't want to like leave my kid.
No.
I didn't want my mom not to know what happened to her. So,
Did you ever think that she'd be better without you?
yeah, so that will get to like my dad's last day of use was like that was
Okay,
my
sorry.
thought.
Hmm.
But
I don't know this story, so I'm not trying to.
no, you're good.
When I ask a question like that, I'm trying to step all over it. People
But,
comment. Fucking interrupts. Can't help Italian.
I just people comment.
Right. Talk shit. Enragement equals engagement.
So, like I mentioned earlier, kind of in past, like I would shoot up at like gas station pumps, hoping that somebody would see me and call the police on me.
Okay.
Just so maybe they'll just take me away. There'd be a chance for me. It never happened. That's when like my self-esteem got to its all-time low. I remember because, like I said, I was already suicidal from a small child. Extremely suicidal now.
I was just going to say, I was going to ask a hard question. Between child and now, have you ever attempted?
Not like
Besides using heroin?
no. I would say like I would use like amount of heroin I know would normally make me overdose or should have made me overdose. I don't want to say wasn't thinking like I'm gonna do this to die,
Okay.
but like it really was that reckless living. I like when I was like I've been in shootouts in the city and dope houses of people shooting up houses. I've watched horrible things happen. Like I just did not care about my life. I don't think I never really made an attempt though.
It's important to talk
yeah.
about because
I was like I
resonated with that.
I owned a gun. I knew what
Interesting.
would fully take it away if I tried it. So I wouldn't say I attempted, but I did not guard my life whatsoever.
My last 2 years, I would say that I didn't care if I woke up passing out drunk. And I had a gun, a couple. I did keep them unloaded because I was more worried about losing my shit and taking them to a fight. But yeah. So I'm right with you on that. That makes a lot of sense.
So I guess I'll go in recovery. We have this saying that I used to hate before somebody explained it to me was they'd always say, remember your last day using. Like, remember your last use. That's a very common saying, like, at least in the rooms I was in. And it always, like, bothered me because I'm like, why do I want to think about me using, right? So I asked one of my, like, mentors in the program, like, why do we say this? I don't get it. He goes, well, what were you doing 1 hour before your last use? Remember that moment. So that moment for me was I was in East St. Louis.
God, I just got fucking sick thinking of mine as you're talking about it. That's wild.
I was sitting in East St. Louis, and I was going to kill myself. I was sitting there with my gun, saying, like, I'm just going to pull the trigger, end it all. But that's when it went through my head, like, homeless, unhoused white guy in East St. Louis in a Baco, that's a John Doe. Nothing happens with your body. Nobody goes out looking for you. That's what you are. So I'm like, I don't want my mom not to know. So I'm like, I'm going to drive out to Union. Every police officer there knows who I am. She'll have closure in that. So I get in my car. I drive out to Union, and it's an hour drive, 45 minutes.
Right.
And that's when I'm going through my head. Everybody that I go in contact with would be so much better off if I didn't exist. My brothers, my daughter's mom, my stepdad, which I do call dad. So my dad, grandparents, whoever, anybody that I know would be so much better off if I just wasn't in the picture anymore. And that's when I got to my kid, Annalise. And I was thinking, like, how much better off if she had somebody else raise her that wasn't me? Like, how much better her life would be if she had another dad take care of her. And that's when it, like, really hit hard. It didn't make me, like, snap out of the addiction or, like, want to get help really at that moment. But it can't believe, because my whole life, I grew up trying not to be my real dad. That was my goal. My real dad left when my mom was pregnant with me. I think he went to jail, then never came back out. Heavy drug addict. He drove drugs in his life over his kids, right? So my whole life was, like, not to be that. That was my whole goal. And in that moment, I realized I just became my real father. I just became my ultimate goal not to be. And I was like, okay with that. Not okay with it, but like I accepted that's what I was. And I get to Union, and I'm also, the whole time I'm fiddling around with shit in my car. I'm dope sick as well. I haven't used. I found $2 of change and like in my cup holder driving up to the gas station. It was Mobile in Union. I still go there every morning to get my gas. So I pulled our parking lot to kill myself at $2. I'm like, well, fuck, I can't kill myself with $2. So I went and bought two $1 scratchers with it. Scratched them off. Now I want $100. So now I have $100. Well, I can't fucking kill myself if I have $100. I need to go get high first. So I drive back to the city. I get dope.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So you drive all the way to Union from East Side.
Yeah, at $100. If you're a heroin addict, you fully fucking understand what I'm talking about.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
That's it. Oh, yeah, right. Like that.
So, but you can't kill yourself if there's a chance you get high. So I was going to get high, then I was going to kill myself. And then I copped up, and then around about 6 p.m. is probably the time it was now, I get a phone call, and it was Bridgeway, which is just like a state-funded treatment center, that I've been calling every day for about 4 months trying to get a bed.
Wait list.
Yeah, I didn't have health insurance. I didn't have any private payability. So you call them, they say, we're full, keep trying. So I called them every day for 4 months. I think that's when they didn't have a bed that morning. Is when I finally decided I was going to kill myself. They called me at 6 p.m. that night and said, hey, we had somebody not show up. It's not a detox bed, but we can get you in our residential. Because I would tell them every day, like, I'm going to fucking kill myself. Like, I don't know if I have another day. And they said, we have a residential bed. It's not detox, but we can detox you.
Okay.
So you have to go through residential, like, programming to get it. You got to be here at 6 a.m. the next day. So I went to treatment that next day. That day was November 7th, and I got clean on November 8th the next day. So that's my clean date. But, so that's why I justify gambling and lottery tickets, Chris, if that's shit, but save my life.
Holly.
Wow. That's amazing.
But, so that was my last.
You hit a fucking square last night in the Super Bowl, too. You're still on a heater.
I almost said, like, God's will or something. Throw it out there.
Let me tell you something. I'll fucking say it. I'm a big Jesus guy. There's so much fucking Holy Spirit going through your story.
Yeah.
I mean it, man.
So that was my last use. I went to treatment. Treatment sucked. Nothing against Bridgeway saved my life. Obviously, it's state funded treatment. I didn't have a therapist. I didn't get my first like doses of Suboxone for I think 36 hours once I got in. So I'm like in full withdrawal. Detox, taper Suboxone, so 7 days detox on it. And the whole time I'm on it, like I had to do programming because I'm in residential. I'm not.
Yeah, that is.
So I had to do groups all day. I had to sleep in the residential building, so there's no like nurses on staff. There's nothing like that. I had to be a residential client. I did get the medication, and it fucking sucked. It sucks so much, though. I think it's a very benefit to me because I don't want to do that again.
Sure.
I'm
telling you, that's the place I went to was no fucking here, and
make it too nice. It's just the truth. treatment can be too nice of a place. You've got to have some uncomfortability.
Like luxury rehab in LA.
Yeah.
Oh,
I resonate with that so much. The place I went sucked, but it worked. And so I don't dog it too much, but there's things that we do better, and it's with experience and time. But Jeff, so you know, and Jacob, you can explain this, but when you're in detox here, we want you just chilling. You're sick, you're tapering. We want you comfortable eating a little bit because I don't know anybody that checks into rehab that's on a great diet.
right.
And then once you get out of detox, you start the res program that he's talking about. So group learning, because it's all day.
Yeah, detox should be designed around physically getting well.
Right.
And even Bridgeway, that sounds like knows that, but they had a bet.
Yeah.
As a detox, that's all about that. It's a decent state-funded detox.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not going to
Evan mentioned them. I think
Evan used to work there as well.
Was he there when you were there?
No. I don't think so.
I keep seeing if I want to know if we cross paths in Champaign.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did it.
How do you don't know that? How the fuck do you know that? You were huffing on dust off.
It was. Blues were playing Chicago in the playoffs. And I was at some Chicago bar when the Blues won. So
In 2016?
yeah,
Was that sweet?
Yeah.
oh so cool. But
They're
Like,
also
they're-
real big in Champaign.
to do treatment at Bridgeway, and this is where I was like blessed with like the desperation. Because like when I got clean, it wasn't necessarily like I wanted to stop doing drugs. I'm a big person that I make sure I share that with a lot of people. Like when I went to treatment, it was like I'm never doing drugs again. It was never a thought in my head. A thought in my head was I want to kill myself so fucking bad. But I also knew killing myself was an absolute. That somehow I had this chance where my daughter doesn't have to be raised by another man. I maybe could be a son to my mother again. I maybe could become a good boyfriend or husband to somebody someday.
A friend or a brother to a brother.
A friend to a friend. Like I had a small chance in my head, which in my head this time was very, very small. And I 100% at this time believed I would not accomplish it. So I would kill myself. Like that was my mindset. Like we tell like a lot of people in early recovery, like don't think about being clean forever. Think about getting 90 days, right? Try to get 30 days clean and decide, That was very similar mindset, but my mindset was, I'm going to go 90 days. If my life doesn't get any better, try not what they say, I'm going to kill myself. Like, that was 100% of what I was doing.
I'm so, like, that's tough.
But
tough to hear.
Mindset worked, because if I was going to I also knew suicide was a complete sit. Like, that's a period ender. You know what I mean? But,
right.
So, if I'm going to do something that's 100% absolute in killing myself, I better do recovery 100% absolute. Yeah. I can't leave any questions out there if this is going to work or not. So when they told me to do 90 and 90, I did 120 and 90. I went to 2 meetings a day, almost every single day for my first 90 days. When they told me to get a sponsor, I got a sponsor the first time. They told you leave treatment, you go straight to a meeting. I didn't even unpack my bag or put my bag in a house. I went straight to a meeting. Like, I did exactly what they said. No questions asked. My early recovery. If they told me to fucking whatever it was, I was going to do it. And I got very blessed with, I got like in treatment, they had H&I. Nathaniel kind of talked about this in his story. Very same treatment center Nathaniel went to is where I went. I just didn't get that cool nurse detox story because I skipped it. Part. But H&I came in. I still remember, because like I went in that treatment center with like nothing. No money, barely any clothes, nothing. And there's this guy in there. I became really good friends with him after treatment, but he was like in NA before he got relapsed and went to treatment. And he was like, hey, I have a group of buddies coming up tonight and they're going to bring some stuff in for me. I'll give you some as well. Kind of help you out with snacks, money for the vending machines, things like that. And in my head, I'm thinking like, that's not a thing that happens. People don't do things for people. That's not how this works. They're going to want something I don't have nothing to give.
Sure.
He's like, no, man, that's what NA's about. Like, they help each other out. That's what it's all about. Not the
Nathaniel was talking the same,
Right.
there was the same, like, distrust or not believing.
And in my head, like, he's like, I thought this guy's just shining me on.
Right.
Like he's just trying to fucking be the cool guy in treatment. I got friends. Like, fuck, no, you don't. But he did. And they show up. Those guys all showed up. Actually, one of them was like my ride or die using buddy. It was crazy.
Really?
His name's Jake. He's actually a director of a treatment center down in Cape.
Okay.
Proud of you, Jake. So
shout out to Jake. And so Jake, who you used with,
so him and like
was ahead of you.
he had probably 3 months. I think I thought he was dead because when people in the world out there disappear, they're dead.
Sure.
But he showed up and he had like 4 guys with him. He didn't know I was there. Jake did it, but they brought shit for me and that guy. You know, they gave it to me, and I asked the guy. His name was Tom. I'm like, "What do you want for this?" Just go to a meeting when you get out. That's all I want. I said, that's not a thing. He's like, that's how you repay me. You do right in your recovery. And luckily, that group of guys were also from Union, where I'm from.
Wow.
So I got extremely blessed with like joining that crowd in recovery early on. And they taught, like, I had to relearn how to live. Like I said, they taught me how to learn again because I was so used to use as a cop-out. So I still remember like learning how to read, write. I haven't done that in years. Already, as we went in there earlier, I have a huge struggle doing it in the first place. I remember talking to my first sponsor and I do my steps. In NA, like your 12 steps, like you have to do work for each step, step 1. And in the NA, they have a step working guide and it's 69 questions. So you got to answer 69 questions.
69. Sorry.
Wait, I looked straight at you when I said it too, Chris. But
it's a dirtbag.
I remember asking my sponsor at the time, like, hey man, I can't really write. I can kind of take in words. I can read this in my head. I'm not going to be able to write it out for you. Can I just tell you my answer? Can we sit down? I'll just tell you my answer to what he goes, no, you write it. So, what the fuck? So I write it anyhow and get done writing it. Okay, I'm done writing it. He's like, you struggle with writing, right? I go, yeah. He goes, write it again. So he fucker made me write it 2 times.
Not like this guy.
Right. And then it goes back to when like the first thing he ever told me to do was read the book. Right. It's 109 pages in the basic text that you want to read first. It's about the whole program. He told me you have 30 days to accomplish this. Right. So I'm talking to him every day. He's asked me, did he read? Did he read? I read, of course I read. We get to that 30 days. He's like, all right, let's go over the 109 pages. I'm like, well, I'm on page 45. He's like, how the fuck are you on page 45? You said you've read every day. I'm like, well, I got to keep rereading it. I want to keep rereading. I'm trying to understand what they're saying. I can't understand it. So I have to read. He's like, who the fuck told you to understand it? I just told you.
Yeah, you told. Right. Yeah.
And that's like what like they made me keep doing these things. Like they didn't think my excuses. They didn't think no pity Jacob for it. And when I say I can't write, they made me write it twice. You know,
it's like life-saving accountability.
Oh yeah, and like I grew up in very old school recovery, which is not the best recovery for everyone. Sure. I understand that. It was very good for me because when I was a sports guy, I was that type of like drill sergeant type of things worked well with me. So it's not for everyone that worked for me. And like just the things, like some of the biggest takeaways I took back from like early recovery was I still remember I was sitting in Tom's truck and I am like having the biggest pity party of my life. My life fucking sucks. I'm at this moment, which there's no gratitude at all. This speech I'm going into. I'm like, at that moment, I couldn't really see my kid. Her mother was phenomenal. She would let me see her. She never like withheld my child from me, so don't hear it that way. Mm-hmm. But she would like, if you want to see Annalise today, you can come up at this time. I'll supervise.
It's called boundaries, motherfucker.
100%. Yeah, I said she was fantastic. You know what I mean?
Which is so important for you, right? Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying because like people don't understand this. It's hard because it's so clouded in love, but boundaries can be life-saving to someone you love that is in recovery, a new recovery, or it could get them to treatment. You know, I mean, that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like, so I'm bitching to him. I can't really see my kid. I was working. I was a dishwasher at a restaurant that my sponsor was the chef for. So I'm making minimum wage as a dishwasher.
It's grueling hours too.
Oh
yeah,
suck.
I did that in high school.
Suck.
It does suck.
Yeah.
And I'm driving like a 1986 Mercury Topaz that had a like pop start to get it going. I'm living in this lady's house that my mom knew through like Smart Recovery out in Franklin County. That would like she would rent out her spare bedroom to like people struggling that need help. My roommate's an active drinking, and he's drinking whiskey, throwing up and peeing himself levels of drinking every night. And that was my roommate.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So and how many days in are you?
At this moment, I'm probably like 30 days out of treatment, roughly around that area.
I mean, honeymoon period, quote unquote, is what they called it. They told me to watch out for
the peak bubble, peak cloud.
Yeah. But so your roommate is
actively drinking, which, like, hindsight,
what a challenge.
Like, looking back, it's a blessing because I never wanted to be home. There's a reason I went to 2 meetings a day is because I went to a meeting place and I stayed there all day because I didn't want to go home.
Okay.
Right. So really, it was a blessing. Sucked at night, but it kept me out of the house during the day, and I like to isolate. So
you weren't in sober living?
No. So this was like a makeshift sober living. No rules or whatever.
Right. Because he would be in sober living.
Yeah, he would be kicked
healthy.
Yeah, if he was in sober living, he would be kicked out instantly.
Right.
This was not a sober living. And I'm doing all that to this guy, right? Pity party, pity party, pity party. Waiting for him to, say, like, yeah, man, that fucking sucks to me. And he looks at me, he goes, when are you going to accept you're the fucking problem? And I'm like, one, my old temperament is like, fuck you, fight now. But I didn't. Like, this guy, I try to master his craft. He had the ability to tell you all your character defects, and he like smiled while he did it. And
that's Matt Fulmer for me.
Is that?
He knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He was a pastor, but I needed that shit. And Ashley says it's because I'm such an 8. Remember we were talking about the Enneagram?
So I haven't looked that up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was supposed to send you a link.
Way to go.
But he followed it up with very important, though. A really important thing after that normal Jacob would not have heard because I would have been acting or right to my response. He said, when are you going to realize you're the fucking problem? And if you're the fucking problem, that means you're also the solution. So what are you going to do to make your shit better? What are you going to do to make you better, to make all the other stuff get better? And that's when, that was a big click in my recovery. I no longer use the excuse, Chris does something that pisses me off. How do I fix Chris? I go, how do I fix myself so that doesn't make me mad? Why does him doing whatever he's doing annoy me so much? Well, my daughter's mom wouldn't let me see my kid unsupervised. Well, am I the type of human that would want around my kid by themselves with my history? Well, no. How do I get the history built up and the type of person, become a type of guy that I would be comfortable around my kid, right? So that's when I started working.
It's funny you say that because your last hour that we talked about earlier, you were talking about thinking about another guy raising your kid, and you wouldn't let the right-minded Jacob wouldn't let that type of guy around unsupervised around your kid. So that's full circle, man.
And so I started looking at all my problems as me. Yeah. I could never look at any issue.
It's hard to look inward, man, no matter what it is.
Right.
It's very fucking hard, and it's so worth it. A lot of the hardest things are produced the best fucking fruit. The juice is worth the squeeze to look inward.
And once you start doing it, we'll start making huge strides.
Big time.
Recovery. And like life getting better if you're doing like self-help.
Yeah.
Once you start looking inward, it's when you start making like huge progress. Like life after that moment is when I can steadily start seeing my life getting better. That moment is probably the reason at 90 days I didn't kill myself, and kind of going back to like recovery, kind of giving us everything back. So I still remember getting out of treatment. I probably around the same time was my first time like going and seeing my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent all day with her. It was like a 6-hour day at her mom's parents' house, my daughter's grandparents' house. 6 hours, and it was an amazing day. It was perfect. Because I'm in my head, like, my daughter's not going to know who the fuck I am. She's going to hate me. It's just going to be horrible. As soon as she sees me, she loves me. She calls me dad. She fucking hugs me. And we just have this perfect fucking day playing. And I remember getting out to my car, that Mercury Topaz, and I just start bawling. And I didn't know you could cry for other reasons besides, like, being sad. So on my head, I'm thinking, like, what the fuck is
big tough
wrong
guy,
with me?
yeah.
Right. What is wrong? Like, why am I sad? I just had the most perfect day of my whole life. So I called Tom. He's a big reoccurring in early recovery for me. I called Tom up. I said to him, Tom, what the fuck is wrong with me? Why am I so sad? I had this perfect day, and I explained to the day. I explained to him, like, what's going on with my body. My chest is heavy. My face is red. I'm hot, He goes, that's called happiness, motherfucker. That's joy.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is when I found out recovery finally gave me back that feeling I was supposed to get when my daughter was born.
I've been having goosebumps. And I knew where you're going with.
Yeah.
Got it. Being clean and recovery gave that back to me.
Back in that fucking surgery room where the C-section was, and got it back.
Yeah.
I do want to point out Jeff sent me that link. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, you're welcome. Ruined a moment.
I look at I say something wrong, I better check on.
I'm still, yeah.
I said homeless again or something. But that's what recovery is all about. Recovery is the worst thing that active addiction took from me. It gave it back to me. And it still gives that back to me every fucking day because I see my daughter constantly now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure.
Too much. No offense, just kidding. But,
that's fucking mad.
That's amazing. Yeah, dude.
And that's like when my early recoveries, that's what my recovery's about. It's a lot, not as severe as like, I'm going to do this 3 times a day all day, but I built up a regimen that works for me now. And I got to that 90-day mark where I was sat there and I wondered, like, okay, do you kill yourself today or not? And it would be nice to say, oh, my life got so much fucking better. Life was perfect. It wouldn't even cross my mind. No, like I sat and I contemplated the idea. And I wasn't really convinced recovery was going to work for me yet, but like I saw some hope. I started believing that these people I met and became friends with were good people that I was meeting, and I really enjoyed them. I thought they were great humans to society, and I also accepted that they weren't at one point. So I believe the program worked.
Yeah.
I started getting that, but like what's working for them, I believe 100% that this program does work. Will it work for me? I was undecided.
But you started to trust a little bit.
Yeah, that little bit of hope I had,
Yeah.
got bigger. Wasn't great, so I'm like, I'm going to give it another 90 days. Let's go another 90 at this, keep going at it, see what happens. And I learned how to start solving my problems. So like looking inward was really taking off at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I didn't like being a dishwasher, so I talked to the chef at the restaurant, had him teach me how to cook. So I became a chef there, which comes with more money.
Right.
Now that I'm making a little bit more money, I could talk to the lady that owns the house I'm in. Hey, if I pay you double the rent, can I have this room to myself so I don't have to live with this guy drinking? Did that, so I got rid of that roommate. I started becoming a person that could be around my daughter. I would want around my daughter so that I got more time with my daughter.
Sure.
But I do want to say when it comes to that type of stuff, because one thing I am a huge believer in is that recovery has to be first.
Yeah.
I don't believe, I'm a big believer, whatever you put ahead of your recovery is the first thing you're going to lose after your clean time.
Right.
And when her mom would call me and say, hey, you can come over tonight and see Annalise at 6 p.m., and it was a night I had to go to a meeting, and I haven't been to a meeting that day, and the meeting's at 7 p.m., I didn't see my kid that day. I went to a meeting. Because if I didn't go to that meeting, I would not be there for my kid the next day. And I fully was going through that mindset. Did I believe it? No. That is just what some guy in the program told me, and I read that absolute where I have to take every suggestion they give me, and that's what it gave me. It gave me having my daughter 50-50.
You have to, I mean, and if you don't, we use cliches a lot in this shit with the oxygen mask they tell you in the airplane. You have to take care. If you're not sober, you're nothing to your daughter.
Right.
It has to come first. Before you're, and I've told that to parents that, and their loved ones, why they can't come to rehab because they got a kid.
Right.
They've got a job. No, you're not going to have any of that shit. Any of it. You're not going to have your kid or your job if you do not go change. If you do not change.
Yeah. And that's where it's all like, it's such a hard concept to accept.
Sure.
It's so hard to admit that. But when you talk about that freedom from active addiction through recovery, like that's one of those moments. Like when you accept that, like your life gets better. You start becoming a good father again, or good mother, or whatever it is. When you accept that recovery needs to be your absolute number one.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is second to it. And I would heavily say like not even a close second. Like there should be a huge gap. Definitely an early recovery. You start getting some more life balance. I'm a big believer. I don't know. I'm sure therapists are out there going to hate. I don't believe life balance is real. I think it's a load of shit. You try to achieve life balance, you're going to be disappointed, especially under recovery, because your recovery has to outweigh everything else. So that has to be your number one. Everything else, I find where it fits in.
When you hear that, I think I hear it the most when they talk about work-life balance. Say that, and there's elements of that's healthy, but there's to your point, there's no half-assing.
No, you got to you have to You have to commit.
You can't do half your insulin if you're a diabetic.
Right. And I'm not saying either, like if you look at my story, I did not believe in it. I did not like it. I did not trust it. I did not think it was going to work. All I had was willingness to do it. It's like when I talk to clients, that's all we need to get better is willingness. You don't have to be open-minded yet. You don't have to be honest yet. That stuff will come later on. But in the beginning, you just got to be willing to do it. And if you show up, it will start working. If you put your body in action, everything else will start working out. I am a big believer, like, as a human, I'm my action. That's all I am to this world is my actions. I spent my whole life believing I was my thoughts. I believe what you guys saw was what I thought about me inside my head. And I thought about horrible, horrible things about myself inside my head.
Yeah,
I was the scum of the earth. Nothing. I was not worth the air I breathed, nothing. And that's what I thought I was. And a good example, I'll give like a not as depressing example, but this came through recovery as a good moment of my like realization was I was at a coffee shop before a meeting. I was waiting in line to get this coffee, and on the counter was a tip jar full of cat. So this whole way through this line, all I could think about was stealing that tip jar. I'm doing multiple scenarios on how I would get away with it, looking at every angle, every camera, playing it all out in my head, going through this line up to get my coffee. Get to the cash register, I order my coffee, I put $1 in a tip jar and walk out. I beat myself up for probably a couple hours. But why am I such a piece of shit? Like, what's wrong with me? Why do I think about this?
Because you were thinking about boosting this tip jar?
I'm like, why? Like, why am I so sick? You know? And then I called Tom. Like I said, he very reoccurring. Bless his heart. He passed away 4 years ago to cancer.
Oh shit!
Sorry to hear that.
He hit me with a really strong line when he was dying. We'll get to things, but he was a fucking huge mentor and savior to my recovery. I call him up,
guardian angel,
right? And I tell him that exact same story about going through. Like, what I asked him, what is wrong with me? And he laughs, right? He's a dick. He starts laughing. And he goes, you're a productive member of society. You paid for your coffee. You gave a tip. That's who you are. He goes, did you want to have those thoughts? I'm like, no. He's like, then why are you beating yourself for something you didn't choose? You choose your actions. That's where your power lies. So start judging yourself on your actions, not your thoughts. And once I started doing that, it's really when like my self-esteem started building.
Yeah.
When I started I don't give any power to my thoughts today. Because I still to this day will have like a thought of like, you fucking suck.
Yeah.
Or you're dumb or you're stupid. Or
a lot of people, I mean, that's good to hear for a lot of people that don't have to be as, I mean, for you, like that's not an addict for it's like the yous of the world. Like this is important shit.
Yeah. That's the question. Like, did you make yourself have that thought? No, it's like, then why worry about it? It's a nothing then. It just happens. Not a big deal. It's the same thing with like cravings for a drug addict. I used to always think if I had a craving, I'm a horrible human being for thinking about using drugs. Because my drugs took everything away from me. And I still remember being at the second meeting I ever went to. It's the first meeting I ever shared in. And I shared, I feel like using drugs. I'm a piece of shit. I'm going to get high tomorrow. I remember saying to me, and this guy next to me goes, welcome to the club. This is where you're supposed to be. And that was the first time I ever realized like having a craving was normal. Like him saying that humanized me in that moment.
Sure.
Because that guy had 10 years, you know, and he's telling me like, welcome, you're supposed to feel that way.
Feel less lonely.
Yeah. I don't feel like, because in my head, like I'm horrible having these thoughts. And all these people I'm looking at around me look nice. They're happy. They would never think about using drugs. Their life is good.
Yes.
And they have the same thoughts I am. That's just normal for us.
So Jacob, when did you, man, this is incredible shit. When did you leave the kitchen for the recovery industry?
So I kind of got lucky, I guess. So I hated working in a kitchen. Not the job for me. Not a fan of working in a kitchen. I had one.
Can you actually cook?
Yeah, I'm a fantastic cook. I've got nothing I do, Chris.
Yeah, you were a damn good heroin addict.
Yeah. I did it all the way, you know. But so my 1 year Bridgeway, the treatment that I went to, they didn't have like an alumni program, nothing like that. I remember my counselor telling me when I was leaving, like graduating there, I did outpatient for a bit as well. But I I remember her saying, hey, if you get a year clean, call us. We don't get many of those phone calls. It's cool to hear. So on my 1 year, I called her.
Nice.
And I'm like, her name was Hope. She was a phenomenal counselor. Great name for
Great name, yeah.
counselor. So I called her up and I'm like, hey, it's Jacob Miller. I mean, I don't know if you remember. She was like, yeah, of course I do. Like, I got a year clean today. She goes, that is phenomenal. Tell me about what's going on in your life. And at this moment, like, I'm no longer suicidal. I no longer want to get high. My life is great at 1 year clean. It's the best life I ever had was that 1 year. Well, it's gotten better since that moment. It was the best life I ever had. And I'm telling her how great it is and how good I feel about it. Because she knew how suicidal I was.
Yeah.
I was very honest with her as a counselor. And she goes, that's fantastic. She goes, anything bad going on? I'm like, yeah, my job. Fucking hate it. Cannot stand work. I work 50 hours a week. Fucking wake up,
thinking
work,
what she's
go to bed.
thinking.
It sucks.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, well, hey, we're hiring for a tech here in Union. That's where I live. And our outpatient, you should put your resume in. We hire people when you get a year clean. I'll put a good word in or whatever. So she sent me like the email address to send an email of my resume to. I made a resume that I've never had a resume before.
Yeah.
Shitty ass resume on my phone. As I'm smoking a cigarette on break at the
Restaurant. Yeah.
and I send it in. The guy calls me an hour later. He's like, come in tomorrow for a job interview. So I go in for a job interview. He's like, you got the job. Next day I start.
Nice.
Wow.
So I became a tech, behavioral health tech.
Which is usually an entry level, right?
Oh, it's
Yeah.
I was very entry level
Yeah.
here. My job was I did UAs, so drug tests. I was a glorified pee taker.
Yeah.
I had people pee in a cup for me and I tested it. And I sat during their doctor's appointment on telehealth with a doctor. So that was my first job in the field. And from that, I also led groups if a counselor called in, kind of like a substitute group facilitator. And I really fell in love with the group facilitating.
Mm-hmm.
I liked teaching about recovery. I liked teaching it through my lived experience as well. And also I'm working a full-time job doing that. And then I was also managing a sober living recovery house on the weekends. So I was working two 80-hour jobs. Two 40-hour jobs for 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
Working. And through Missouri, Illinois is the same, a credentialing board. If I don't have any college, never been to college before. Got high at some, obviously.
Sure.
Never studied it.
Missouri State, U of I, Parkland. I've come.
But through work experience and certain trainings you can do online.
Notre Dame.
Yeah. I didn't get high there. I was a treatment. But through work experience and little classes you can do, trainings and stuff, you get counseling credentials.
Yeah.
So Missouri has a MADAC 1 is pretty easy to get, then a MADAC 2 and then a CADC. So I was working two full-time jobs. Usually it takes 2 years to get your MADAC 2 or CADC, whatever, your counseling credential. I got it within my first year because I was just working so much. So I got that. So I became a counselor out in a small town in Missouri. I drove 2 hours to work.
Oh shit!
Making $13.50 an hour.
Wow.
2 hours.
What was the town?
It was Montgomery City, out in Missouri.
I know where that's at.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
You pass it on 70.
There's a dam up there,
Yeah.
That's where I had to go get my COVID shot.
But worked at an outpatient out there, and at that outpatient, I was the only staff in the whole building. There was no other tech, there was no front desk worker. It was just me. I did everything there from the drug test to the doctor's appointments to the individual sessions. I did all the groups. I'm doing 6 hours a group a day, 4 days a week. So you get a lot of group experience that way.
Yeah.
And that's when my love for treatment really kicked in. And it also, I guess, left up to my own devices, I could do a lot of things I thought could work and do a lot of troubleshooting. Sorry, I use those clients as experiment. But I also I was working with all my clients out there too were what we call a referral only site. So my site was clients that were sent to me. I didn't have clients that wanted treatment. All my clients were probation, parole, drug court, DFS. So I had to do a lot of stuff with the court systems. I worked very close with this therapist that was at Warrington, Missouri. So it was 40 minutes up the road, 30 minutes up the road. So he became a good mentor of mine. So he would I would run ideas before I did it with a client. I would run ideas.
You worked fine, yeah. Fuck.
I would run my ideas through him. Hey, this group ideas is a good idea. Or like DT, I've heard this in the rooms of recovery. How can I make this therapeutic sounding? Right. And I would run it all through him.
You sound like a clinician.
I was at one point. Still not. But I had credentials. I had letters after my name for a while. But I did that for a long time as a counselor. And I made a really good name for myself doing it. Really good results. I don't want to use my word. I do a good job at making people believe they can do it. Like, that's my job here. Anytime a client ever tells me, like, you saved my life, like, I get that probably more than I deserve. And I tell them, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I just gave you a platform. You did the work.
Right.
That's all I do. That's my whole career. I base it off, how can I make Chris save his life? And that's the goal. And
witnessing that transformation is such a gift.
Oh, it's the best feeling in the world when you see someone again. I ran into a client last week at the gas station, had 157 days.
No.
I can't say his name. It's HIPAA. I also give a shout out there. I had to give a beat. But he's working full time, he said, like, smiling at 7 a.m., you know?
Right.
Like, that's what it's all like. And one thing I learned being in recovery, there's a lot of us fucking out there. Like, you don't know who's in recovery next to you. And it's amazing to see us get back into society. At least for me, like, I was a menace to society. I robbed everything that would come close to me. I would steal everything if it wasn't, well, fuck, even if it was glued down.
Yeah, right.
No. And today, I don't feel like I'm a human that if you saw at Walmart, you would think was a homeless heroin addict.
Yeah.
And I believe the way I can break the stigma on that is by telling everybody I was a heroin addict.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
that's what gives the hope out there that we different, you know?
No, and that's what hopefully people hear that listen to this. I mean, that you went from being a homeless heroin addict to giving roadmaps to people on a daily basis to transform their lives. And you've seen it happen countless times, not just your story. I mean, we have a fucking alumni program here, place you were at before, in between here, and if it was Bridgeway, you know, you've been doing it since you've been clean, really. And and even in participating in meetings, you get to see and be a part of a team for people, everybody in there. You're showing up for yourself and for every person in there.
Right. That's what recovery is all about. It's about, you get what you give. You give hope, you get hope.
Yeah, man.
You go to meetings, you give chaos, you're going to get chaos. It works both ways. I am blessed to be that person that's never had a chaos in the meetings, stuff like that. That's always one thing I hear a lot of, like, people say in treatment or not in treatment. Like, oh, I don't want to go to an NA meeting. They offer drugs there. You know, people offered me drugs one time. Like, I've been in those rooms a million times. I've never been offered drugs. But also, I don't sit in the back row with people that look like they want to do drugs anymore. I sit in the front row with people that want to hear what the message.
You weren't looking for a drug.
Right. I didn't present as I was eating. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you hang out with people that aren't there for the right reason, because let's be honest, there's a lot of people at meetings or a lot of places anywhere in life that aren't there for the right reason. Same thing with treatment. There's people in treatment because they're forced to be here. There's also people that want to be here.
Yeah.
If you hang out with the people that are forced to be there, that don't want to be clean, that, like I was, that first treatment center I went to.
Right.
When the staff was around, you know, I'm preaching recovery. It's amazing. As soon as they're away, I'm talking to people about getting high and fucked up and sharing war stories. If those are the people you hang out with, those are the results that you get. You got to stick with the winners when it comes to this. Get out, get clean, go to a meeting, find somebody with 5, 10, 15 years, and become friends with them.
And fucking listen.
Yeah. And please, because I'm a big believer, my Dylan, he'll appreciate this. I'll make sure he listens to us. He was,
good. We need listeners.
Well, I used with him for years. He's actually a probation officer now. Great father too. He has, I think about 3 months more clean time than I do. So he's probably like 8.5 years clean.
He's a PO. That's great.
Yeah, he's a probation officer now.
They ain't getting shit past him.
and I worked in treatment with him. He worked in treatment for a while before he became a PO. He would always tell clients, which I love, he goes, you cannot be too dumb for recovery, but you can think you're too smart.
Yeah. I have seen that too. I've seen people that I've just told somebody this a week or two ago, that you're too smart for your own good here. And it's not because but the first tell on that is, and I know this is pot calling the kettle black, but the fucking lips are always moving.
Right.
And they're telling you all things that they know about themselves and how their body works and this and that and that we don't know. and they're always open, and it's just constant mouthing, motor mouthing, and there's zero listening going on.
And that's what, and you gotta be humble about it.
Yeah.
Going back to Tom, I'll kind of end it with his last like little nutshell, because when I said earlier, we did like old school recovery. Like, like when you were a newcomer in that group, like you're the one that chopped wood for the camp out. You know, you rode in the middle seat. Like you didn't get shot.
Right.
You know, you're the newcomer. And I remember like big ego Jacob that I was, like, asked myself, when the fuck do I not become a newcomer anymore? I'm sick of this, right? Mind you, I've only been there for like a week.
You want to start hazing the guy.
Like what is it? Top, like he had like, I think 7 years clean at that moment. He looks at me and goes, well, I'm still a newcomer, I'll let you know. And that's like when it like hit me, like, you got to always be a newcomer. You always got to be teachable. You always got to be there to learn.
Sure.
And if you live that way, you'll always get better.
Yeah.
As soon as I think I know enough, because I feel like I'm somebody that knows more than average person about recovery.
Yeah.
And treatment, like stuff like that. Like I would say, definitely not near as much as I could or should. But as soon as I think like, oh, I understand this, I got this type of mindset, that's when I'll fail.
Yeah.
That's when I fail. That's when I quit trying to make IRC better. That's when I quit making my Spotsy's life better. That's when I quit trying to be the best father for my daughter. And I really do a lot of absolutes in my thinking, which is might be good, might be wrong. So like I said earlier, I believe in abstinence. So no more do I ever look at like a drug as heroin, alcohol, weed, meth. Drug is a drug. If I think about smoking weed, it's the same thing as if I'm thinking about doing heroin. If I'm thinking about doing heroin, it's the same thing as if I'm thinking about doing alcohol. It's all just one thing. And I no longer, in my recovery, I never once said, like, I want to get high. Because I very much can make getting high sound like a great idea. I can justify getting high if I try hard enough, trust me. What I can't justify anymore my daughter not having a father.
Right.
I can't justify my mother waking up with me robbing her. You know, I can't justify
her identifying you down at the morgue.
Yeah, or like my family losing their son, brother, boyfriend, dad. I can't justify that. So it's no longer use in my head. It's no longer I'm going to go use. I have to say, I'm going to make my daughter lose her father. I'm going to make my family lose their son, brother, friend. And I can't justify that. I can't find that to be a good idea. I can make using sound good.
You can't ever, right. No, that's a great, you can't.
And it's the same exact thing. It's all one. That's what unmanageability of life drugs gives us. That's what we learned. At least I learned through like step work. It's what unmanageability is what use it. It's no longer getting high. It's die and my daughter not having a dad.
No, these are all like things that I'm going to employ. I mean, so like people ask all the time, do you think about drinking? I always think about having a fucking drink to chill the fuck out.
Right.
But I think about my kid and my wife and my house, and it's gone. And that's what I have to go to that and it takes the craving from nothing. It takes it down. It really like throws water on the fire. So I see exactly what you're saying. That's fucking incredibly wise. And I see you still do groups here at IRC when every time you get a chance. And
so I do like one group a month, or when I get bored,
right.
tell the student like, hey, let me run this one. But I'm a big fan of like the neuroscience of addiction and the disease model. I'm a big fan of, I'll have to do, we've been out here way too long. I'm going to get in trouble getting home this late, but
I don't even know how long we've been going.
I don't know. It feels like fucking 4 hours.
But great, man. This is
2 hours.
Good.
Because I'm a big believer in, I have a disease. I am sick.
Yeah.
Illness. I also believe it being a disease, it can be put in remission. It cannot be active. It's always there, but not active in my life. And I believe the more I have an understanding of what my illness is, the better I can counter it. Because this is one disease that tells me I don't have it every day. It's also a disease I don't have a magic pill I can take and just be better. It takes a lot of work every single day. And it gets easier. Like, I don't put near as much work as I put those first 90 days in.
Sure.
But I built a foundation that I could kind of slack a little bit. But my slack can never last longer than a day.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in, I wake up with something in recovery and I'll go to bed with something in recovery. And if I start seeing my disease get active, which through recovery, you'll find what your things are, like my irrational thinking. If I start self-doubting myself, thinking I'm a loser, piece of shit, or whatever it is, and a lot of times that comes out through anger in my life, if that starts happening to me, I know I'm sick. I know my disease is flaring up. I need to go to a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So It doesn't mean that I'm cured. It means my disease is in remission. And when it flares up, I know what medicine I have to take. And in some days are going to be worse than others. And if they're worse, I take more medicine. So that means I read more recovery literature. I call somebody else in recovery. I go to a meeting if I'm able to that day. I listen to a speaker tape. I do the things my program has taught me to do because that's my medicine. And once you get to that self-awareness, and I didn't really start learning that very closely until I started understanding the disease model and the symptoms that come along with it, that I started to be able to counter it and know when it acts up. Because one thing you hear at every treatment center, I know you both, Jeff, you probably have heard this too, that relapse always happens way before your first use does.
Yeah.
Right? I've learned that every treatment center I've ever been to, I've never been explained what that was. Well, what happens a couple months before first use, you know? And that's what we see.
Start blowing off meetings.
It's before I start getting irrational thoughts.
Okay.
I start getting self-centered. I start getting compulsive. I start obsessing over certain things. Like, I believe those 4 things are symptoms of our disease.
Interesting.
So as soon as I start having an irrational thought, I don't really think, why am I having this thought? I go, that's my disease acting up, go to a meeting. Read my literature. And that's what I have yet to meet an addict that one of those 4 things was not the 2 months before the relapse. Because I believe relapse starts then.
Sure. Yeah.
Relapse ends when you use the drug.
Okay.
That's not the start of a relapse. When you use, you're in active addiction now. The relapse is over.
Got it.
But it doesn't get planted as like this happened till you use, right? So you need to start I call it what it is.
And you don't go from flying high in recovery to I'm gonna go.
No, it will feel that way if you're not self-aware.
Sure.
What's going on in your life every day and doing your self-reflection. And I use those symptoms. Like, if somebody asks me if my disease is active, I don't think about using. If I'm using, I don't think about, am I being irrational? Am I obsessing? Am I being self-centered? Like, that's my disease being active. And if that's going on, that means I'm sick. And if I'm being sick in my disease, I'm not in my recovery, so I need to do more recovery.
Super wise, man.
Thank you.
And brave. I appreciate you sharing all this. I mean, yeah, I don't know why I really kiss like Kevin's ass and chirp Jacob, but I really learn a lot from you, man.
Yeah.
Fuck. His head's getting big. I do. Super wise. Love you to death. This is a good one. I'm glad that, this is just awesome shit. And, I love talking about it, and I could go for 3 more hours, but I got to piss so bad my back hurts or float.
But before you go, we gotta. What did Tom tell you when he was dying? You said he.
Oh yeah.
Oh, good.
We got to hear this.
The liberal.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm listening.
So Tom, like, he had severe. I don't remember what type of cancer. It was very, very severe, very bad. And it was a long road. It was probably a year him battling it. The dude always went to meetings, sick as fuck. You know what I mean? Can't even like hold anything down. Go. And he remember him saying, "He's like, I didn't get high over this. What excuse will you ever have?" And if that fucker don't get high,
that puts that fucking calls your bluff.
Right? Yeah. So what excuse could what part of my life could be so bad that I have to get high over if he didn't? And God bless Tom's soul. He's not better than me. You know,
right?
I'm not gonna lose the Tom.
I
will not get high.
What a warrior, though. This, I mean, the way you've talked about him, I learned that way quite a bit from people really just shooting me the fuck straight.
Right.
And me being able to receive hard shit. The Biofsky, if I told you about Fulmer, but like the Tom is like, yeah, man, I wish I could have met him, and God bless him.
If somebody gives me soft, I will manipulate it.
Sure.
If you don't give me the hard facts of exact what reality is going on, I will find a way to manipulate it to be bad.
Man.
No.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I think you got a guy he lives on through your recovery, and I'm sure he's helped countless other people as well. And so that's how he's living on, I would imagine.
Oh yeah.
So shout out to your guy, and I hope Tom Sol. You said Sol was his last name.
I didn't say his last name.
I thought you said Tom's.
Horrible thing to say.
All right, so fine. Fuck me, Tom.
I only break my own.
Tom Doe. No, seriously, God bless, and that's powerful shit. Another good episode. I think it's gonna, I'm not being dramatic. It's gonna save some lives. I mean, that's how we're doing this, and you're the best executive director of a treatment center I've ever met.
Me too.
And I love you.
The only one you guys have.
Well, who's count? Jakob Miller, Executive Director, Illinois Recovery Center, co-host of Podcast Anonymous, and stubborn asshole. Thanks, brother. Love you. Thanks, Jeff. Let us pray.
If you're struggling or know someone that is, please have them check out our podcast and reach out to Chris or me. We want to listen, and we're super eager to help. Our music is Anti-Hero by McCall and Gentle Waters by Wild Wonder. For more information, visit pondossanonymous.com. Find us on Facebook and Instagram.